Your jaw tightens before you notice. Shoulders creep up. The inbox pings, the calendar pulses red, someone's tone cuts sharper than expected. Your chest feels like a fist closing from the inside. Heat climbs your face, your tongue goes dry, your mind zooms in on a single word that felt unfair. You hear yourself preparing a comeback you'll regret. Time shrinks. Sound familiar. Here is the promise. In the next pages, you'll learn to stretch that shrinking second into a doorway, the exact, science-backed way to master the space between stimulus and response, so you can choose who you are, not just what you do, under pressure. You were born with a reactive brain. You don't have to live with reactive habits. When something hits, your amygdala fires an alarm and steals blood from your prefrontal cortex, the part that plans, reasons, and keeps you aligned with your values. That theft takes milliseconds. The good news is that attention and breath can steal it back. Neuroplasticity is your quiet accomplice. Every time you interrupt the automatic and install the deliberate, you lay new wiring. You are not trying to become a stone statue that never feels. You're building a flexible nervous system that notices, names, and navigates. You are the awareness behind the weather, not the weather itself. Feel the chair under you for a second. Notice the exact weight of your hips, the fabric against your back, the temperature on your forearms. Let your exhale lengthen by a beat. That's the first hint of space. You don't need a perfect morning routine to create it. You need a reliable, in-the-moment pattern. This is where the first framework arrives, simple enough to deploy while someone is mid-sentence. Call it the space method. Stop, pace, ask, choose, execute. Stop is one breath. Pace is one slow cycle. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. As you consciously drop your shoulders and unclench your jaw. Ask is 2 questions. What is actually happening? What matters most right now? Choose is the smallest wise action available, not the most impressive. Execute is taking that action within 60 seconds before the old wiring reasserts itself. This is not theory. It's a physical maneuver that returns blood to your thinking brain and widens your options. Let's make it tactile. A micro drill, the 4-4-6 reset. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4, hold for 4. Exhale through pursed lips for 6, like you're cooling a spoonful of soup. Repeat twice. On the third round, add naming. Say in your mind, I'm having the thought that I'm under attack. That phrasing creates cognitive distance. You're not the thought, you are the observer of it. You'll feel your heart rate nudge down, your visual field widen, the sounds in the room separate from the voice in your head. You are reclaiming seconds, which is how a life gets reclaimed. Picture this, fluorescent lights, late afternoon, a conference room that smells faintly of dry erase marker. Myra, project lead, watches a client frown and say, "This strategy feels naive." Her stomach drops so fast it's like missing a stair. Heat hits her ears. Her mouth forms a defense before she's aware. Then she remembers space. Stop, she inhales once, silent. Pace, she rides a 4-4-6 under the table, exhale long enough to soften her shoulders. Ask, what is actually happening? A person expressed doubt. What matters most? Understanding their specific concerns so we can adjust. Choose, ask a clarifying question. Execute, could you tell me which part feels naive and what you're seeing that I'm not? 20 minutes later, the room has rewritten the plan, the client is nodding, and Maya feels something subtler than victory, self-respect. She didn't win by force. She won by choosing instead of reacting. Turn your attention to your hands right now. Are they warm or cool? Notice the texture of your fingertips against each other. Feel the breath brush your upper lip as it leaves. These sensory anchors flip your reticular activating system out of threat scanning and into present moment indexing. Your RAS is the brain's bouncer. It decides what gets your attention. Under stress, it lets in only the loudest, scariest guests. When you anchor in sensation, you're whispering to the bouncer, include the quiet facts too. Suddenly you notice the colleague's softened shoulders, the clock's steady tick, the coffee's earthy smell. Threat becomes data. Data breeds choice. Here's a second framework to carry in your pocket: the 90-second weather rule. Neurochemically, the raw surge of an emotion, adrenaline, cortisol, the cocktail that floods you, peaks and begins to metabolize in about 90 seconds if you don't feed it with catastrophic thoughts. Think of a rain squall sweeping through a warm city street. Your job is not to stop the weather, it's to step under the awning and watch. The protocol is simple. When triggered, imagine tapping a mental stopwatch. For 90 seconds, do 3 things. Breathe 4-4-6, name the emotion as a weather word: storm of anger, fog of confusion, and label what your body is doing: chest tight, left shoulder hot, throat narrow. Don't argue with the content, describe the weather. When the storm passes, you will find yourself on the far side with less static in your thinking. You may be wondering if naming feelings is just soft talk. It is. Naming recruits language networks and the prefrontal cortex, which dampen amygdala reactivity. It's called effect labeling. The MRI scans are boring but convincing. More important, it's practical. If you can say, "There's a squeeze in my chest," and a thought that "I'm not respected," you create a seam you can pry open with choice. You are not the squeeze, you are the one noticing the squeeze. This is identity, not affirmations. You are the awareness behind the weather, not the weather itself. Another micro drill, the 2-question reframe. Ask, is there a more generous explanation that could also be true? Follow with, what's the smallest step that honors my values right now? The first question interrupts the certainty of offense. The second converts clarity to movement. If a friend replies late, your amygdala says they don't care. A generous explanation says they're overwhelmed. The smallest step might be, I'll send one more clear message with a kind tone. You are not surrendering boundaries. You're surrendering the reflex to assume the worst and punish with silence. Boundaries set in calm are sturdier than walls built in panic. Feel your feet again. Press your toes inside your shoes and sense the floor pushing back. Soften the muscles around your eyes. Imagine widening your peripheral vision until you can almost see the room behind you. Slow your inhale by 5%. There, in micro adjustments like these, the gap appears. It's less a Grand Canyon than the width of a breath, but it's enough for a wise action to slip through. Let's return to the moment just before reaction. The pattern is remarkably consistent. A cue hits, your nervous system surges, your mind narrows, your tongue sharpens, and later you regret. To rewire it, we use habit science. A cue will always come. You can't control traffic, tone, bad timing, but you can preload the routine. Pair a common cue with space until it runs on its own. The cue might be heat in your face, a subject line with your name, the phrase "we need to talk," the sight of 3 dots typing. Every time that cue lands, you do the same tiny thing. Thumb and forefinger pressed together, inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 6, then ask the 2 questions. It will feel artificial the first week. By the third, your nervous system will reach for the pattern the way your hand reaches for a railing in the dark. Make it concrete. Tonight, set a simple practice. Choose 3 daily cues and rehearse space with them. The first sip of coffee, the moment your phone unlocks, the turn of your key in the door. At the coffee sip, stop with 1 breath, pace with 1-4-4-6. Ask the 2 questions. Choose the smallest wise action for the next task. Execute by starting the task for 60 seconds. You're teaching your brain that trigger equals space, not spiral. Neuroplasticity respects repetition, not drama. The work is humble and it works. You might worry that if you stop reacting, you'll be walked over. The opposite is true. Reactivity is a popularity of one your fear. Responding creates boundaries that are firm and kind. In a heated chat thread, the reactive move is to send the cutting line you wrote in your head. The responsive move is to pause, name the weather, ask the 2 questions, and type, "I want to solve this. Can we jump to a quick call?" If the other person doubles down, you use choose and execute differently. You say, "I'm going to step away and return at 3 p.m. with a clear proposal." That is not nice, it's clear. You are choosing the conditions under which your best self shows up. Take another sensory beat. Feel the coolness where air meets your nostrils. Notice the weight of your tongue resting in your mouth. Let your next exhale be a shade longer than the last. Trace the line of your spine against the chair and invite one vertebra to settle. Picture your mind as a room with a window that you can crack open whenever it fogs. You don't smash the window or demand the weather change. You let fresh air in, and you wait the 90 seconds. There is a story we all inherited. That control means clenching harder, but the deep control you want is not the iron grip of a closed fist. It's the deliberate release that reveals your hand again. You don't control people, traffic, global tides. You control the placement of your attention and the rhythm of your breath. Place attention wisely and breath deliberately for long enough, and your character changes in the direction of your choices. A single breath is not small when it is leveraged against your entire nervous system. Remember Maya in that conference room? She practiced before the meeting. She sat in her car, hands on the wheel, and rehearsed space with pretend triggers, a furrowed brow, a late arrival, a skeptical sigh. She ran the 90-second weather rule with imagined insults until the insults lost their teeth. When the real trigger came, her body had a map, not a speech. This is your playbook too. Rehearse when stakes are low so you can perform when stakes are high. And when you slip, and you will, you don't narrate failure. You run space on the shame itself. Stop, pace, ask what is real. I lost my cool once. What matters? Repair, choose, send a clean apology. I got defensive there. Here's what I'm aiming for. Execute, send it now. Repair is a response, not a reaction. For tonight, give yourself one assignment. Write a pocket intention. One sentence you can say before a meeting, a text, a dinner, a difficult talk. Try my job is to keep the space and choose one wise action. Put it on your lock screen if you like. Then practice the 4-4-6 reset twice today when you're not upset, so your body learns it without the alarm. You are not waiting for life to be gentler. You're becoming the person who is gentle with life, even when it isn't gentle with you. As you close this section, feel the air on the back of your neck, the hum in the room, the way your ribs widen on a patient inhale. The space you want is not an abstraction. It's here, in your body's rhythms, in the inches between stimulus and response, in the decision you make with your next exhale. You are the awareness behind the weather, not the weather itself, and you are already practicing. You've started to notice the hinge where your choices swing. Now let's widen it. Think of reactivity as a narrow hallway with flickering lights. You're rushing because the space feels tight. Mastery is turning that hallway into a room with windows. The technique you'll train today is the Window-Widen Protocol. It's a 4-move sequence to create width on demand: orient, name, reframe, and act small. It takes less than a minute, but the minutes after it look different, clearer, kinder, stronger. Begin with orient. Your nervous system settles when it knows where it is. Move your eyes, not your head, and scan left to right as if you're reading the horizon. Let your neck stay loose. This lateral eye movement tells the brain to exit tunnel mode. While your eyes sweep, feel for 3 touchpoints: the chair at your thighs, the fabric at your forearms, the weight of your feet. Say quietly here, now me, then name, give the internal storm a label that is both specific and ordinary. Irritation, embarrassment. Apprehension, you don't need a rare word, you need an honest one. The prefrontal cortex perks up when language walks into the room, and the amygdala loses a little of its megaphone. Reframe is not positive thinking, it's perspective choosing. Ask what else could be true that is useful and plausible. Finally, act small, one motion that moves reality by a centimeter in the wise direction. Send one sentence. Ask one question. Take one breath. The hallway widens. Right now, see if you can feel your breath sliding along the back of your throat. Notice the temperature at your nostrils on the inhale and the faint warmth on the exhale. Roll your shoulders back and let them drop like coats off hooks. That single settling motion is a message to your vagus nerve that it's safe to open the windows. When your body trusts you, your mind follows. You are not trying to overpower your biology. You're learning to partner with it. You are the awareness steering a very capable animal. There's a companion tool, the 3-channel check. Most people live inside one channel and forget the other 2. The channels are body, mind, and world. Body, sensations, breath, posture, heartbeat. Mind, words, images, predictions. World, sights, sounds, other humans, the clock, the task. Under stress, your mind channel floods the feed with headlines. Your body tightens, the world shrinks. Your practice is to rotate the dial deliberately. 30 seconds each. Body, shoulders down, jaw soft, 4-4-6 breath. Mind, label the thought, I'm having the thought that they're judging me. World, name 3 facts in the room, window glare, hum of the fan, email subject line. Rotate twice, then decide. You will feel the hallway turning into a room with more than one door. A story to hold the shape. Jonah, a UX designer, is texting with his partner Lena. It's Thursday evening, traffic heavy, rain stippling the windshield. He messages that he'll be 10 minutes late to dinner with her parents. The dots appear. Lena replies, again, his chest compresses. In a flash, an old narrative downloads, I never measure up. He feels heat in his ears, a sharp taste in his mouth, the urge to send a defense brief. The hallway tightens, then training. Orient, eyes sweep the dashboard to the rear view, locating rain on glass, the green of the turn arrow, the rhythm of the wipers. 3 touch points, seat belt across his shoulder, wheel under his thumbs, heel pressing the mat. Name, irritation and shame. Reframe, it's plausible she's stressed, not attacking. It's useful to clarify, act small, I hear you, I'll be there at 6:10. Anything I can bring? The dots pause, then, thanks, could you grab seltzer? Dinner is warm. The hallway recedes. Later that night, Jonah tells Lena he wants to plan buffers into their calendar. The relationship gets stronger, not because he won the argument, but because he chose the room. Pause with Jonah for a second. Feel your own seat, the gentle pressure at your sit bones. Let your next inhale be 3 heartbeats long. Feel the skin at your ribs stretch like canvas and then settle. Notice the sound that is farthest away. Then find the closest sound, maybe your own breath. You are teaching your reticular activating system to include reality again. The RAS is not malicious. It is efficient. It highlights what you ask it to highlight. If you tell it to scan for threat, it will find evidence. If you tell it to scan for anchors and options, it will find those too. Orientation is your RAS instruction. Let's tighten the science briefly and turn it into muscle memory. When you orient your eyes and label sensations, you shift activity from the amygdala's alarm to the prefrontal cortex and anterior cingulate, the regions that regulate and reappraise. This isn't trivia, it's a wiring map. Repeat it, and the trail becomes a path. Add breath that is longer on the exhale than the inhale, and you recruit the parasympathetic brake through the vagus nerve. Think of it as putting traction under your intentions. Your attention can now push without spinning out. You don't have to remember the names. You just remember that you can make thinking brain accessible by how you breathe and what you name. Practice the Window-Widen Protocol now, even without a trigger. Orient, sweep your eyes slowly left to right across the room as if reading a line of text on a horizon. Name, pick a real, current sensation, tingle in fingers, coolness at the forearms, weight on the tongue, and one present emotion, even if mild. Reframe, offer a line that is both useful and true. Today might be messy, but I can move 1 inch well. Act small, reach for a glass of water and take 3 steady sips, or open a blank note and write 1 sentence about the next step. Humans underestimate inches. Your nervous system loves them. Here's another method to add range, the 3-perspective reframe. You ask 3 voices for counsel. First, present you, what do I feel and want right now? Second, future you, 6 months from now, what would make me quietly proud tonight and useful later? Third, wise other, if someone I respect were watching, what would they advise? You can run this in under 45 seconds if you keep the answers short. This triangulation interrupts the single-story trap of reactivity. 1 perspective is a hallway, 3 is a room. Test it with a workplace scene. You receive an email with the subject feedback on your draft. Your stomach flips, you click. The first sentence is blunt. Your fingers hover to type a defense. Run the 3-channel check for 90 seconds. Body, roll your shoulders, Exhale for 6 through pursed lips. Feel the keys under your fingertips. Mind, say, I'm having the thought that they don't value me. World read the rest of the email slowly, noticing the neutral sentences and the one-kind line you would have missed. Now the three-perspective reframe. Present you, I feel strung, I want to defend. Future you, if I improve the draft and ask 2 clarifying questions, I'll respect myself later. Wise other, thank them for specifics. Ask what success would look like. Type, thanks for the direct notes. Which 2 changes would make the biggest difference? Here, what I'm considering. Other day moves forward. You didn't shrink, you steered. Check in with your senses again. Is there warmth at your palms? Can you feel the fabric at your collarbone? Relax the tiny muscles between your eyebrows, let your gaze soften, and imagine your field of view expanding like a lens widening. Let the next breath lengthen imperceptibly on the exhale. In these micro-movements, your identity shifts from the person who is carried by the weather to the person who stands at the window and watches the sky change. You are the awareness, not the emotion. There's a phrase to keep in your pocket: ask before answer. In tense moments, your first wise action is often a question that gathers data your reactivity ignored. What feels off to you? Can you say more about the timeline you're facing? What would good look like specifically? Questions lower others' defenses and give your thinking brain the clay it needs to sculpt a response. This is not passivity, it's precision. Information turns reaction into choice. Let's add a micro drill called the 1-minute audit. Set a 60-second timer before a high-stakes call or conversation. In that minute, you do 4 steps. Breath, 1-4-4-6 cycle. Body, drop shoulders, unclench jaw, place both feet flat. Belief, say 1 sentence that aligns you with your values. My job is clarity and kindness. Behavior, write the smallest next action you'll take if tension rises. Ask 1 specific question. That minute buys you 10 minutes of better outcomes. You can run it in a bathroom stall, at your desk, or walking down a hallway. Another story, this one from a different arena. Priya, a first-time founder, is preparing to pitch. The night before, she receives a text from a mentor: your numbers slide is weak. Her throat tightens. Old perfectionism snaps awake. She paces her apartment, heart beating in her ears. She pictures walking into the room and blanking. The hallway narrows. Then she remembers the 90-second weather rule. She sets a timer. For 90 seconds, she breathes 4-4-6, names the weather, storm of panic, and narrates the body, heat at the face, shaking at the hands, stomach taut. At second 70, something loosens. She runs window widen, orient, eyes sweep the bookshelf to the window, 3 touch points, floor cool at bare feet, fabric at her calves, mug warm in her hand. Name, fear. Reframe, useful, plausible. I can tighten 3 numbers, the rest is solid. Act small, open the slide, adjust the unit economics line, write 1 clarifying email to the mentor. Which metric should I highlight first? She sleeps. The pitch goes well. No miracle, just a human steering wisely in a storm. Feel your own heartbeat without touching your chest. If you can't, that's fine. Notice the pulsing at your fingertips. Tune your ears to the low sounds in the room, the hum of a fridge, the tick of a vent, a distant engine. The soundtrack of calm is rarely silence, it's selective attention. You're training the sound engineer in your brain to pull down the volume of panic and push up the track of data and breath. You may fear that if you create too much space, you'll lose your edge. That urgency is the fuel of achievement. That's a common myth, and it costs more than it pays. Calm is not the enemy of speed, confusion is. When the prefrontal cortex is online, you make fewer false starts and repair fewer messes. Think of elite athletes between plays: loose jaw, soft gaze, deep exhale, narrow focus on what matters. They are not less intense, their intensity is channeled. The same physiology is available to you at your desk or kitchen table. Tonight, we convert ideas to soil and plant the habits. Choose 2 daily anchor points for the Window-Widen Protocol: the moment you sit down to work and the moment you open a message thread that matters. At sit-down, orient your eyes left to right across the table, name 1 sensation and 1 emotion, reframe with a useful true line, Act small by writing the first sentence of the most important task. At message open, do the same, then ask one clarifying question if the thread is tense. Track it in a small note. WWP done? Yes, no. The act of tracking is not for gold stars, it's for wiring. Your brain loves to complete loops it can measure. Add a night practice, the 3-line journal. Line 1, weather word for the day's strongest emotion, squall of frustration, morning fog, clear skies at 2 p.m. Line 2, a moment you widen the window, asked for specifics instead of defending. Line 3, 1 inch you'll move tomorrow, draft the first paragraph at 9:00. This takes 60 seconds. Over a week, you'll watch your identity migrate from reactor to chooser, not by slogans, but by evidence. You are building proof you can trust yourself under heat. Take one last sensory check before we close. Let your tongue rest heavy at the floor of your mouth. Soften the back of your throat. Feel the air travel there. Sense the weight of your clothing where it meets your skin. Place your palm on your chest and notice the gentle rise that your hand follows. Let your hand be heavier by 1 ounce and feel your chest meet it. If there is pressure behind your eyes, let it spread and dissolve like a drop of ink in water. You are not erasing emotion, you are letting it move so you can move wisely with it. You are the awareness behind the weather, not the weather itself. If you want a sentence to keep handy this week, try, I widen the window, then I choose. Whisper it when you feel the hallway squeezing. Whisper it when the email arrives. Whisper it when the tone shifts. And when you forget, and you will use the same methods on the forgetting. Orient, name, reframe, act small. This is not a performance, it's a practice. Practice beats panic over time. In the next section, we'll install boundaries that don't bite and requests that land, using a framework that makes hard conversations cleaner and easier. You'll learn the clear then call method to say what you mean without heat, and the emotional alchemy ladder to climb out of spirals step by step. For now, place one hand on your belly and take a slow breath in through your nose, then let the exhale be longer than you planned. Notice the quiet after. That quiet isn't empty, it's full of options. You're ready to turn calm into clean language, the kind that holds shape without cutting. The tool is called Clear Then Call. First you make it clear, what you see, what you need, what matters. Then you make the call, a specific request, time-bound and testable. When you lead with clarity, your nervous system steadies and the other person's brain can process. When you follow with a call, the conversation leaves orbit and re-enters the atmosphere of action. This is how you set boundaries that don't bite and make requests that land. Take a breath before we begin. Feel the coolness at the tip of your nose as you inhale and the faint warmth as you exhale. Let your jaw hang a few millimeters looser. Notice the points where your body meets the chair, 3 anchor spots carrying you without complaint. That's your platform. From here, words can come out measured and honest instead of barbed and rushed. You are the awareness choosing the words, not the surge that wants to throw them. Clear Then Call runs in 3 quiet steps you can do while the room hums. Clear starts with reality, what's happening that a camera or microphone could capture. Then meaning, what matters to you or the mission. Finally, need, the principle you're protecting. The call is a single line that invites or directs the next wise move. It sounds like this in practice. I'm noticing we're 5 minutes over and we haven't decided who's drafting the summary. I want us to leave aligned so next steps don't stall. Let's pick an owner now and a time to send. No spikes, no apology for wanting order, no vague hope. You name, you value, you request. Test it with your body. Feel the weight of your tongue resting against the floor of your mouth. Let it be heavy. Soften the back of your throat. Observe how your chest expands on the inhale and your shoulders drop a fraction on the exhale. Now, picture a recent moment when you wanted to lash out or withdraw. See it in a single freeze frame. Run Clear Then Call in your mind as if dubbing a better line over the original. You are rehearsing the clean groove into your nervous system. Neuroplasticity likes repetitions more than heroics. Here's a story from a hallway outside a glass-walled meeting room. Layla, a product manager, stands with her arms folded, heat in her cheeks. Her teammate Theo just committed them to a Friday deadline without checking. The old script in Layla's head says, "Don't make waves, then resent later." Her heart pounds, fingers tingle, the hallway feels narrow. She breathes a 4-4-6 once, then again. Clear Theo, in the meeting you set Friday as our handoff, and our QA window is usually 2 days. She keeps her tone even and her feet planted. What matters? I care about hitting commitments without burning the team. We have to protect quality and energy. Call, let's agree now on a Monday delivery or decide what drops to on a Friday. Theo blinks, then says, "You're right, I overreached. Let's renegotiate to Monday. I'll message the client." 20 seconds, 2 sentences, 1 clear call. The hallway widens into a workable week. Notice your palms. Are they cool or slightly damp? Press the pads of your fingers together and feel the gentle resistance. Let your gaze soften at the edges so your peripheral vision opens a degree. The nervous system reads these shifts as permission, not a fight, not a flight, but a firm stand. That stance is the container for clear then call. Without the container, words wobble. Sometimes the weather is louder than a single breath can steady. For those moments, you'll climb the emotional alchemy ladder. Picture a 5-rung ladder leaning against the wall of a storm. Each rung has a job: notice, name, normalize, narrow, nudge. You don't leap from rage to zen, you move 1 rung at a time. On notice, you catch the first body signal: heat in face, hollow stomach, tight jaw, without commentary. On name, you label the emotion plainly: anger, fear, guilt, so language can pull blood back to the thinking brain. On normalize, you remind yourself that this response is human and predictable. You aren't broken, you're alarmed. On narrow, you choose 1 small question or action that would make things 1% better. On nudge, you take that action within a minute. Drink water, ask for a pause, step outside, or send the 1 clear line. 5 rungs, 90 seconds. Weather becomes workable. Feel for the first rung right now. Scan your body from forehead to toes as if you're a lighthouse beam. Any pressure at the temples, any flutter at the belly, any heat at the neck, that's notice. Whisper a word that fits: apprehension, impatience, sadness, that's name. Offer the human clause: anyone would feel this with a deadline and a surprise change. That S normalize. Narrow to a question: what 1 sentence will get us back on track? Then nudge, type the sentence or say, "Can we pause to clarify scope?" The ladder is not poetry, it's scaffolding. Use it and your mind returns to you. A personal story to show the ladder in domestic light. Daniel, a graduate student, gets a text from his brother. "Mom said you can't make the weekend, figures." A wave of old guilt crashes. He tastes metal, his scalp prickles, his chest goes tight. The first reaction would be to debate or to disappear. He picks notice: heat in chest, jaw clenched. Name, guilt and frustration. Normalize: family dynamics are sticky, I'm juggling exams. Narrow: what's 1 sentence that sets a boundary and invites connection? Nudge: I'm prepping for finals and can't do this weekend. I'll call Sunday at 5 to plan a day next month. He breathes, then places his phone face down and returns to his work. 2 hours later, his brother replies, "Okay, Sunday call works." The storm didn't need a speech, it needed a ladder. Check your breath again. Inhale through your nose and feel the air curl at the back of your throat. Exhale gently through pursed lips, as if cooling tea. Sense the seam where your shoulder meets your neck and let it soften by 1 degree. These tiny physiological edits are the handrails of the ladder. Each rung becomes easier to step when your body isn't slipping. Clear then call and the emotional alchemy ladder work best when you pair them. Use the ladder to downshift your state, then deliver clear then call with a voice that carries calm authority. Imagine a late-night Slack thread that turns sharp. Your body surges, you climb. Notice the jitter at your fingers. Name the flash of anger. Normalize the human reflex. Narrow to the question. Nudge the action. Let sync live at 10 a.m. to settle scope. I'll send an agenda. Then clear then call wraps it. I'm seeing crossed wires on who owns testing. I want us aligned before noon to keep momentum. I'll host a 10-0-0-10-20 to assign roles and timelines. You respect the team's nervous systems, including your own. A micro-practice to install both tools lives in your Notes app. Call it the two-line boundary. Before a conversation you expect to be tricky, you write 2 sentences, the clear line and the call line. I'm noticing we revisit the same issue each week and leave without decisions. I want us accountable and energized. Today let's confirm who owns the next 3 tasks and the dates. Then you copy those 2 sentences to your mind's clipboard. In the room, as heat rises, you breathe once and paste. Planning doesn't make you rigid. It releases you to respond instead of improvise under adrenaline. Take a sensory beat. Feel the fabric at your forearms and the cool or warmth in the room on the skin there. Notice the weight of your heel against the floor. Let your shoulders melt a fraction and your gaze widen until you can see the edges of the space around you. The body is your first instrument. Tune it before you play a difficult piece. You may worry that boundaries will push people away, that asking clearly will be read as unkind. But reactivity is the thing that separates. Clarity is what lets people meet you. There's a quiet sentence to carry. This is not about being right. It's about being clear and connected. When you speak from clear then call, you are not performing dominance. You're offering structure. People who love you can rest inside it. People who try to manipulate you will find fewer handles. Let's walk into a kitchen at 7:30 p.m. A pot steams, a phone buzzes, a 6-year-old asks for help with a tower of blocks. Jules and Marin, partners, are both tired. Marin's tone gets clipped. You're late again. Jules feels the hallway constrict, mouth readying a defense. The ladder appears. Notice swell of heat at the face, shoulders up. Name hurt and defensiveness. Normalize this conversation is hard when both hungry. Narrow what one line sets a boundary and invites repair. Nudge, I hear you. I want us on the same team. Let's eat, then talk 10 minutes at 8 about mornings. Later, clear then call lands. I'm seeing morning chaos drain both of us. I want our start gentler. Let's try a 7:10 alarm, clothes set out at night, and I'll pack lunches while you do drop-off. Can we try it for 3 days? The kitchen does not become a movie, it becomes a home. Boundaries aren't bricks, they're beams. Feel the air along your upper lip again as you breathe out. Place a hand on your belly, feel it rise and fall like a small tide. If you notice a jumpy urge to fix everything right now, smile at it the way you smile at a puppy tugging a shoelace. You are the awareness. You can choose the pace. Choosing pace is a form of power. There is a second micro drill for high heat minutes, especially when your mind gets noisy. It's called the one window right. You open a blank note and type exactly 2 things without punctuation. What is happening and what you will do next. Heart racing boss asked for update at 4, haven't started, will send status with first step by 3:45. Then you do the step. The writing force is clear. The line at the end is your call. The act of typing recruits language networks that turn noise into rails. A brief science bridge to keep the tools grounded. When you make a specific request, you engage the brain's goal circuitry. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex loves targets. When you time-bound a step, dopamine becomes a guide instead of a gambler, nudging you toward the reward of completion. When you climb the ladder, you're loading the anterior cingulate with conflict monitoring so that it can downshift the amygdala's siren. None of this needs to live in your mouth. It needs to live in your body language and your one clear sentence. If you found yourself thinking, I know this, why don't I do it? Give yourself a kinder lens. Knowing a ladder exists is different from placing your foot on the rung when rain hits your face. So we rehearse. This week, choose one recurring friction and rehearse a clear then call line in the shower, on a walk, in the car. Whisper it until it feels like a sentence you own. Then choose one alarm that always sets you off and practice the ladder twice when you're not upset, so your nervous system recognizes the feel of each rung. Rehearsal is not fake. It is generosity to your future self. Close this chapter with a simple evening drill. Set a timer for 90 seconds and sit with today's strongest emotion. Notice where it lives in your body. Name it with one word. Normalize it with one sentence that includes the phrase "of course." Narrow to the smallest next wise action tomorrow related to that emotion. Nudge by scheduling that action in your calendar. When the timer ends, take 1-4-4-6 breath and feel the way your ribs soften on the long exhale. This is you laying a plank of calm that tomorrow's you will walk across. Before you put the book down, touch the world again. Listen for the farthest sound. Shift your attention to the nearest sound, your breath. Let your gaze rest on something still, then on something with motion. Sip water slowly and feel its path. You are installing a different identity, one sip at a time. The person who can feel heat and choose clarity. The person who can want connection and build it with clean requests. The person who can protect energy without punishing anyone. You are the awareness behind the weather, not the weather itself. And you just added 2 solid tools to your pocket. When the moment comes, and it will, where someone's tone flares or a deadline slides or a loved one presses an old bruise, you'll step onto the first rung, breathe once, and speak a line that respects both you and them. Clear, then call. Then the day will move again, not by accident, but by design. Today is about attention, how to keep it, return it, and direct it like light. Reactivity steals attention, mastery gives it back. Think of attention as a beam you can aim or let scatter. When it scatters, the mind floods with half-sketched arguments and phantom alarms. When you aim it, the world snaps into useful contours. You'll learn 2 frameworks to wield that beam. The first is the signal-to-noise switch, a way to separate what moves the day from what merely moves your cortisol. The second is the Refocus Anchor Protocol, a simple ritual that hardwires single tasking when stakes are high. Together, they protect your mind from the constant invitation to react to everything and respond to nothing. Start by noticing your own field right now. Feel the weight of your phone in your pocket or the way your forearms rest on the table. Hear the faintest sound in the room, air through a vent, a distant refrigerator hum, and then the nearest sound, likely your own breath. Let your gaze soften so you can see a little more at the edges. These sensory cues are not garnish. They return the keys to your reticular activating system. When you anchor in the body, your RAS listens when you tell it what counts. You're about to tell it. The signal-to-noise switch has 4 words that you will memorize and use like a dimmer. Goal, gate, gather, go. First goal, name the single outcome that would make the next block of time worthwhile, not a list, one outcome. Second gate, decide what gets in and what stays out for the next stretch, apps closed, notifications muted, a door shut, a do not disturb sign, or simply a visible timer. Third, gather, collect the 3 things you need, document, data, water, and nothing else. Fourth, go, start with the smallest action that changes reality in the direction of the goal. The switch flips your nervous system from scanning to shaping. A micro-drill to install it, the 2-minute map. Before you begin a task, set a 2-minute timer. In those 2 minutes, write 1 sentence for goal, 1 line for gate, list the 3 gather items, and type the first verb for go. Example, goal, send a clean, specific project update. Gate, slack off, phone on DND, email closed, 25-minute timer. Gather, last week's notes, current metrics, calendar. Go, open doc and write first sentence, here's where we are and what will move the needle. When the timer dings, you are already in motion. You don't need motivation, you need a map. The body loves a strong start more than a strong opinion. Breathe with me once. Inhale through your nose for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6 like you're fogging a window. Feel your shoulders drop a fraction on the exhale, as if someone lifted a backpack off your spine. Notice the cool air at your nostrils turning warm as it leaves. You are instructing your sympathetic system to stand down so attention can work. Focus is not clenched, it's aligned. Story time, fluorescent and ordinary. Tam, a staff attorney, sits in a cubicle under ceiling lights that buzz like insects. Her day has become a mosaic of interruptions. She ends each evening with 30 open tabs and a vague ache behind her eyes. Today she tries the switch. Goal, draft the first 2 pages of a brief. Gate, phone in drawer, email closed, headphones with brown noise, a paper sign that reads heads down, returns at 11:10. Gather, case file, style guide, glass of water. Go write the opening paragraph badly on purpose. She breathes the 446, hits a 25-minute timer and starts. 12 minutes in, a Slack pops through, someone marked urgent. She glances but doesn't click, the gate holds. At 11:10, she checks the message. Do you have the link to last year's template? She replies in 20 seconds. The world didn't burn. By noon, she has 2 pages. The ache behind her eyes is smaller. She leaves the office at 6 for the first time in weeks. Focus isn't a vow, it's a pattern that buys you back your life. Let's deepen with the Focus Anchor Protocol. Anchors are ritualized moves that drop you into a state quickly. Elite performers use anchors without calling them that. The bounce of a ball, a breath, a phrase. Your protocol has 4 moves in 90 seconds. Clear the deck, place the anchor, set the sprint, seal the start. Clear the deck means physically clearing the visual field in front of you. Close extra windows, stack papers, put the mug to the side. Place the anchor is to connect a sensory cue with single tasking, a particular pen, a subtle citrus scent, a specific chair position, a single playlist that you only use when focused. Set the sprint is choosing a short burst, 15 to 30 minutes, and naming the one outcome inside it. Seal the start is a phrase you whisper that marks the threshold. Now I make one thing real. Practice it once now. Clear your space of one object that doesn't belong. Place a micro anchor, touch thumb to ring finger and take one steady inhale, hold, exhale 446. Set a sprint, choose the smallest outcome you'll finish after this page, 1 paragraph of an email, the first 3 bullet points of a plan, a call scheduled. Seal the start, whisper, now I make one thing real. Feel the tiny shiver of commitment in your chest and the way your shoulders drop a millimeter. You are the awareness that sets rituals, and rituals set you. Another sensory beat, notice where your clothes touch your skin, collar at the neck, waistband at the hips. Imagine widening your peripheral vision until you can see the corners of the room without moving your eyes. Let the next exhale lengthen just past comfortable. These are switches you can flip in public without anyone knowing. Quiet power has that look, a soft jaw, a wide gaze, deliberate breath. You aren't withdrawing, you're choosing. Sometimes the threat to focus isn't outside, it's the murmuring inside, self-talk that sounds like an accountant who only tracks costs. You need a counterweight, the clean inner coach. It uses a 3-line script called the coach's cut. Line 1, a neutral description of what you're doing. Line 2, a cue that returns you to the process. Line 3, a tiny kindness. It sounds like, you're writing 1 sentence at a time, good. Or you're preparing for the call, 1 question at a time, steady. The brain does not need poetry, it needs tone. When your inner coach is clean, your hands keep moving. A personal scene to ground this. V, a medical resident, rotates through nights. At 3:12 a.m., pager buzzing, she tries to dictate notes and keeps rereading the same line. Her mind tells the old story, you're behind, you shouldn't be here. She runs the coach's cut. You're charting 1 patient at a time, good. She breathes 446 once, then again, and drops her shoulders. The words flow. At 6:10, she hands off, walks outside, and the dawn air feels like a rinsed glass. She isn't superhuman, she is anchored. To defend focus in a noisy world, you also need a compass for when to say yes, no, and when. That's the boundary compass. Picture the 4 directions as principles. North is need, what the situation truly requires. East is energy, your fuel and recovery. South is self-respect, whether your choice aligns with who you are. West is workability, what will function in real life. When a request arrives, glance at the compass quickly. If it breaks north or south, you say no. If it meets north and south, but drains east, you propose a when that protects energy. If it meets all 4, you say yes cleanly. The compass keeps you from defaulting to yes under adrenaline and regretting it later. Use a micro drill called yes, know when. When a request pings, you inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, then ask the compass, need, energy, self-respect, workability. You answer with one sentence starting with the correct word. Yes, yes, and I'll send it by 3:30. No, no, I can't take that on and keep quality. Here are 2 options. When, yes, and next Tuesday is the earliest I can do it well. This is not coyness. It's physics. You can't give what a frayed nervous system doesn't have. Pause and sense your hands. Are they warm or cool? Rub your palms together once and feel heat bloom. That warmth is your reminder that energy is physical, not just calendar space. The boundary compass respects blood and breath, not just boxes on a screen. You are the awareness that protects the instrument that plays the music. Another story, because stories teach what lectures can't. Lewis runs a small cafe. The morning rush is a chorus of steam, chatter, and clinking cups. His barista calls in sick. A regular asks if he can cater a last-minute meeting for 30 at noon. Lewis feels the spike, pride mixed with panic. The old habit says yes to be liked, then scrambles and resents. He breathes once, checks the compass. Need, food for 30. Energy, already redline with 1 staff down. Self-respect, promise only what I can deliver well. Workability, maybe tomorrow. He says, I'd love to help and do it right. Today I can't do 30 by noon without cutting quality. I can do pastries and coffee for 15 by 1 or full catering tomorrow at 12. The regular smiles, chooses tomorrow. The morning rush flows. Lewis didn't lose a customer, he gained a reputation. Clarity is sticky. If you struggle to keep your gates shut because interruptions arrive from inside your own head, use the interrupt alchemy. When a thought barges in, you treat it like a visitor. 3 steps: startle, seat, schedule. Startle is a silent oh hello to catch the thought in the act. Seat is where you place it in a quick capture note. Schedule is when you'll meet it later. Example, oh hello taxes. You jot tax checklist, Saturday 10:00 into a capture list and return. The mind relaxes when it trusts you to keep promises. Without a seat and schedule, thoughts pound on the glass. With both, they wait in the lobby. Now a science bridge you can feel. Single tasking increases activation in the brain's task-positive network and quiets the default mode network, the part that chews on past and future. You know it as relief. Your breath smooths, your peripheral vision widens, your jaw softens. Exhale now for 6 and notice how your chest follows your ribs down like a tide leaving a shore. That physiological shift is not a mood, it's a platform. From the platform, you can do the day. Install these patterns with a morning ritual called the First Light Sprint. Within 10 minutes of waking, before opening your phone, you sit, breathe 4-4-6 twice, and run the signal-to-noise switch on a single anchor task. Goal, gate, gather, go. You then do a 15-minute focus anchor protocol sprint to move that task 1 inch. The win isn't finishing, it's steering. You have told your nervous system, I lead the day. On days when chaos follows, this first inch keeps your self-respect intact, which keeps your reactivity lower when the world knocks. At midday, run a reset lap. Stand up, step away for 60 seconds, and walk a quiet square, 4 slow edges in your room or hallway. On each edge, do one thing. Edge 1, soften eyes and widen gaze. Edge 2, roll shoulders and lengthen exhale. Edge 3, whisper the coach's cut. Edge 4, decide the one outcome for the next block. Sit and begin. The lap is the smallest ritual that transforms a scattered noon into a deliberate afternoon. For evenings, give yourself the gift box. It's a tiny ceremony to put your attention down so sleep can find you. Write on a card 3 lines, what you did, what you learned, what you'll begin tomorrow. Place the card somewhere you'll see it in the morning. Take 1 4-4-6 breath with a hand on your belly and 1 on your chest. Imagine setting your attention in a simple wooden box and closing the lid. The box will be there at dawn. The night gets to be a night again. Feel the chair beneath you now, the solidness that doesn't demand. Let your tongue rest heavy and your jaw unhinge a hair. Feel the air against the small hairs on your forearms. These sensory notes are the ground upon which your mind builds rooms with windows instead of hallways with alarms. You are not detaching from life, you are attaching to what matters. If you've ever thought, I can't focus because they won't let me, you're not wrong about the pressure from outside, but you have more levers than you think inside. Gates, anchors, sprints, and clean inner coaching create bubbles of sanity even in loud rooms. You don't have to build a monastery, you build moments. Moments are enough to turn a day. One last story for the road. Nia is a high school teacher. Between classes, a student lingers to talk about a sick parent. The bell rings, emails pile, the principal wants data. Nia feels the pull from every side. She breathes once and runs the switch with compassion as the goal. Goal, be present for 2 minutes, then prep the next lesson. Gate, phone face down, ignore inbox. Gather 2 tissues and a chair. Go, tell me one thing that would help today. After 2 minutes, she says, thank you for trusting me. I'm teaching next period and we'll check in at 3:15. I put it on my calendar. She writes the check-in and the student's name. Later at 3:15 she shows up. Focus served love, love reinforced focus. This is the loop you want. As you close this section, whisper a pocket intention. I aim the beam. Choose one place you'll test the signal-to-noise switch today, a draft, a call, a conversation, and one anchor you'll install, a scent, a song, a chair position, a thumb-to-ring finger touch. Then keep a tiny tally in your notes. S to N used, anchor used, yes, no, that's not for guilt, it's for growth. When the tally shows 2 yesies in a day, notice the quiet pride that lands just under your sternum. That feeling is evidence. You are the awareness behind the weather, not the weather itself, and the beam is in your hand. Today we train the art of recovery, the ability to return to center faster than you leave it. Everyone gets knocked. Mastery is measured in the return. Think of resilience as elastic, not armor. Armor is heavy and cracks when stressed. Elastic stretches and then snaps back to shape. You'll learn 2 frameworks that make bounce a practice. The first is the reset, repair, refocus cycle, a 3-move rhythm to use after you slip, snap at someone, or lose the thread. The second is the emotional debt ledger, a way to clear the small residues that quietly tax your attention and keep you reactive. When you practice these, you stop fearing mistakes because you know how to metabolize them. Begin inside your body. Notice the air at your nostrils, cooler on the way in, warmer on the way out. Feel the texture beneath your palms, the weight at your sit bones, the subtle pressure of fabric on your shoulders. Let your jaw unhook a fraction and your gaze widen until you can sense the edges of the room. This is your neutral. Memory loves a place. Teach your nervous system what home feels like so it can navigate back. The reset, repair, refocus cycle begins with reset. In biology, a reset is a downshift from sympathetic arousal to parasympathetic steadiness. You'll use 2 moves. First, a 4-4-6 breath, 3 rounds, shoulders dropping on the long exhale. Second, a label that defuses the emotions fuse. Say, I'm having the surge called anger, or I'm experiencing the weather called panic. Language invites your prefrontal cortex back into the room and turns reaction from command to suggestion. Reset is not denial, it's regaining the conditions under which you choose well. Repair is next. Humans hurt each other even with good intentions. Unrepaired micro-tears make relationships brittle. Repair has 3 lines: name your part, name your aim, and name the next step. It sounds like, I got sharp back there, I want us clear and connected, I'm going to take 10 minutes and send a cleaner summary. Or I shut down in that meeting, I'm aiming for presence, I'll propose a follow-up. Repair without drama is a sign of strength, not weakness. Your brain learns you are safe to trust because you fix what you break. Refocus closes the loop. Attention drifts to the dent. Refocus returns it to the road. You pick 1 inch, an email, a paragraph, a call, and do it now. Completing a small action gives your dopamine a place to land and signals that the day is still workable. Without refocus, reset, and repair end in self-analysis. With it, you rejoin the day. Feel your neck soften where it meets your shoulders. Let your tongue rest heavy at the floor of your mouth. Notice one far sound and one near sound. These cues are the corridor back to yourself. You are the awareness that notices the corridor, not the hallway that trapped you a minute ago. A story from a Tuesday that could be anyone's. Karim, a senior account lead, walks out of a tense client call. He heard his colleague misstate a number and corrected him with a tight tone. The call ends, the colleague's face is flat. Karim feels a throb behind his eyes, a hot thread down his neck, the twinge of shame in the stomach's pit. The old script says, just keep moving, it'll fade. That script keeps debts open. He runs the cycle. Reset 3, 4, 4, 6 breaths by the window, eyes scanning left to right across the skyline until tunnel vision widens. He names it. I'm having the surge called irritation and embarrassment. Repair, he pings his colleague and says, I cut in sharply. I care about us presenting as one team. I'll DM you if I spot a number next time, and I appreciate you flagging me if my tone gets off. Refocus. He opens the deck and writes a clear post-call summary with updated numbers. 10 minutes, the heat drops. The team thread softens. His day continues with shoulders less high. Underneath these moves is simple neurochemistry. In an upset, cortisol and adrenaline rise. The amygdala narrows your options to fight, flee, or freeze. A long exhale and effect labeling recruit the ventromedial prefrontal cortex and anterior cingulate to regulate that surge. A clean action restores a sense of agency, which is a predictor of lower stress and better performance. You don't need to memorize the names. What matters is that your body believes you can steer again, and belief comes from acts, not intentions. Now to the emotional debt ledger. Imagine each unresolved irritation, unsent apology, unmade decision, and nagging task as a tiny debt. Each debt charges interest in the currency of attention. When the balance gets high, you start paying with reactivity. You snap, you avoid, you scroll. The ledger is a weekly ritual to list, sort, and settle debts before interest eats your bandwidth. The steps are quiet. You sit with a timer for 7 minutes and write down every small unfinished thing that tugs at you, the message you've dodged, the bill, the sticky conversation, the promise to yourself about sleep. Then you mark each as do, delegate, date, or delete. Do means a 2-minute action now. Delegate means hand off clearly. Date means schedule it on a day when you have the energy. Delete means you release it with a sentence honoring the reason. I'm not writing that long apology. I will call and be honest tomorrow. Feel the weight of a pen or the keys under your fingertips. Inhale and let the air brush the back of your throat. Exhale longer and feel your ribs descend like blinds lowering. The ledger isn't about perfect productivity, it's about conscience. When your inner ledger is clean, your nervous system calms down. The amygdala stops scanning for vague threats because you've turned them into concrete actions or conscious releases. Calm is a byproduct of integrity. A kitchen table vignette shows the ledger at home. Nora and Eli share a narrow apartment where a sink can start a fight. After a long week, a silence grows that's thicker than the air. Dishes stack, texts go unanswered, sleep shortens, and both feel unseen. Saturday morning, Nora hears the scrape of a mug and the old thought, if I don't do it, it won't happen. She catches herself. Reset, 1, 4, 4, 6 breath standing barefoot on cool tile, eyes sweeping the window to the clock. Label I'm having the weather called resentment. Repair, I've been tight and short this week, I want us clearer. Can we do a quick run at dishes and errands together? Then the ledger. They list 5 tiny debts, trash, laundry, and overdue text to Eli's sister, a bill, a conversation about budgets. Do take out trash and start laundry in 10 minutes. Delegate, Eli texts his sister now. Date, budget talk Sunday at 4. Delete, the idea that the house must look like a magazine. The air thins. Later that night, Nora feels warmth in her chest, the pleasant heaviness of a couch after work done. The sink didn't cause the storm, the debts did. Take a sensory beat just for you. Press your toes gently into your shoes and feel the ground push back. Unclench your hands and sense the blood return to your fingertips. Let your gaze soften and widen, as if seeing around a corner. The body is telling your mind, we're home, we can do this. There's a micro-practice inside the cycle called the 30-word repair. After you misstep, you write a message under 30 words that does 3 things: owns your part, names your aim, proposes one next step. I interrupted and went brittle. I want us aligned. I'll send a clean outline in 10 and welcome your edits. The limit keeps you from performing guilt, which drains trust and keeps you in motion. If the relationship needs depth, depth can follow. But prompt, clean repair prevents corrosion. Sometimes the debt is with yourself. You promised a bedtime and broke it. You vowed to stop doom-scrolling after 10 p.m. and watched the ceiling at one. Self-repair is a muscle too. Use the gentle promise protocol. You speak to yourself the way a coach speaks to an athlete you want to see win. I broke my plan and stayed up. Of course I did, with that stress. Tonight I'll plug my phone in the kitchen at 9:30 and read 3 pages, then lights out. You then set the environment so the promise is likely. Charger out of the bedroom, lamp on the nightstand, book waiting. The brain trusts promises that have props. Check your breath. Feel the skin along your ribs glide as you inhale, then sink as you exhale for 6. Imagine your breath washing the edges of a glass, rounding them. The roughness of a day smooths when you repeat this wash. You are the awareness, not the roughness. Here's a workplace story about debt and dignity. Ava manages a small team. 2 months ago, she gave diffuse feedback that left one teammate, Marco, guessing. He guessed wrong, grew defensive, and Ava avoided a second talk. The debt accrued. Meetings got prickly. She feels a pit in her stomach every time she sees his name. On a Thursday morning, she runs the ledger and circles Marco's name. Reset, 3 breaths and a walk around the block, eyes scanning rooftops to lampposts, lampposts to curb. Label, I'm having the weather called apprehension. Repair, Marco, I was vague in my feedback last month and then avoided a follow-up. I want you and the work to thrive. Could we do 15 minutes today? I'll come with 3 specifics and hear yours. Refocus, she drafts those 3 specifics now. The meeting isn't perfect, it is clean. Marco asks better questions, Ava sets better expectations, the pit in her stomach lessens. She didn't need a personality transplant, she needed a cycle. The emotional debt ledger can also include gratitude in shadow, a small practice that clears resentment by noticing help where your attention forgot. Each evening, for 1 minute, you write 2 acknowledgements that didn't announce themselves. The barista who remembered your name, the colleague who caught a typo, the partner who plugged your laptop without a flourish, the bus driver who waited an extra beat. When you acknowledge, you pay a different kind of debt. Your reticular activating system learns to index for quiet support, not just loud slights. That shift buffers reactivity because your world becomes less hostile and more human. Take another sensory moment. Feel the slight temperature difference between the skin on your cheeks and the air just in front of them. Notice the weight of your clothing where it rests on your shoulders. Let your shoulders drop like coats sliding off a hook. In that drop is permission to try again. A micro drill to keep your ledger from ballooning is the 1-minute mop. At the end of a work block, you mop the floor of your attention, you file one thing, schedule one thing, and clear one thing. 1 minute. It seems trivial until you notice that the end-of-day mess shrinks, and with it, the late-night spin. Spinning is just unpaid debt wearing a mask. Science briefly, and then we return to the practice. Unrepaired social ruptures maintain elevated cortisol and sustained amygdala activation, which hijack working memory and reduce cognitive flexibility. That's why your world feels smaller when you owe or are owed. Repair reduces threat signals and restores prefrontal function, which is why even a simple "I missed that, here's my fix" can make your chest feel wider a moment later. Pair that with a small completed action and dopamine marks the episode as handled, making your brain more likely to choose the cycle next time. You're not just being nice, You're running maintenance on your executive network. One more story lit by fluorescent supermarket lights. Matteo, a college student, works part-time stocking shelves. A customer snaps at him for blocking an aisle with a cart. He feels the zing in his chest, the impulse to mutter something back, the old heat of not being respected. He breathes once, counts an exhale to 6 and moves the cart. 10 minutes later, he's still replaying it, heart a little fast, jaw tight. He catches himself and opens the mental ledger. Debt, lingering resentment. Do a 30-word repair with himself. I got strung and stayed hooked, of course. I reset now and finish aisle 9. He inhales, exhales, then runs the 1-minute mop at shift end. Shelves straightened, note to manager about a better cart placement, water bottle refilled. He walks out under night air that feels like a cool hand. He can study without the scene chewing his attention. Resilience is not abstract. It's shelves, breath, a sentence, a step. Bring your attention back to your hands. Flex your fingers once and feel the blood warm the skin. Place a palm on your chest and feel the gentle rise meet your hand, then the fall. Let the exhale trail a little longer than planned. Each of these is a cue you can use to begin again. Beginning again is the superpower that keeps you from quitting or clinging. You might worry that constant repair will make you look weak, that you'll be the one always apologizing. The key is proportion and boundaries. Repair your part, not the weather. If someone weaponizes your kindness, the repair is to yourself. You stop over-owning and you use the boundary compass from earlier to decide your yes, no, or when. Strength is clarity with care, not stubbornness dressed as principle. Before we close, set a simple plan to test both tools. Choose 1 hour tomorrow called the clean hour. During that hour, you'll deliberately notice any slip, a defensive tone, a wandering mind, an avoided task, and you'll run reset, repair, refocus once. Then set a 7-minute window this week to run your emotional debt ledger and settle 3 items. Track with a tiny tick in your notes. Cycle done, ledger done. The act of recording is humility in action. You're letting results, not moods, write your story. End with a quiet identity turn. You are not the person who never errs. You are the person who knows how to come back. You are not the mess or the apology. You are the witness who can reset, repair, and refocus until the day reflects your values again. Watch your breath arrive like a tide and leave like a tide. Feel the room hold you the way a chair holds weight without commentary. This is the shape of elastic. This is the strength you've been after, less brittle, more honest, steady in the knowledge that you can turn any misstep into a doorway back to yourself. When the next sting hits, and it will, you'll feel the spark, breathe once, choose a sentence that mends rather than scorches, do the smallest next action, and move forward with a quieter chest. Resilience isn't louder than reactivity, it's deeper. You're building it with every cycle you run and every debt you clear. Today you'll rewrite the code that runs beneath your reactions, the beliefs and stories that tilt your choices before you notice. A trigger is a match, a belief is the gasoline around it. Change the fuel and the same spark won't blaze so hot. You'll learn 2 frameworks that turn heavy beliefs into lighter, truer guides. The first is the belief Recode Loop, a 4-move cycle that takes a sticky thought and returns it as a clean instruction your nervous system can use. The second is the if-then bridge, a precise way to translate those instructions into actions under heat. With these 2, you stop arguing with your mind and start training it. Begin with your senses. Feel the fabric against your forearms, the steady weight where your body meets the chair, the coolness in the air just in front of your face. Let your exhale grow longer than your inhale by a beat and notice the micro drop in your shoulders. Breathe again and notice the sound that is farthest from you, then the closest, the soft brush of air in your nose. The present moment is your editing room. You are the awareness that edits, not the old line that wants to run. The belief Recode Loop has 4 steps: catch, clarify, cross-check, convert. Catch means you spot the belief in its native habitat, the sentence that lands in your head when you're tired, rushed, or criticized. It often speaks in absolutes: always, never, must, can't. Clarify is where you translate the sentence into the specific prediction it's making. Cross-check asks for evidence and usefulness. Is it true, and does believing it help me act with my values? Convert is where you build a replacement instruction that is both truer and usable. Not a mantra, an instruction. Then you repeat the loop fast, in under a minute, whenever the line pops up, until your reticular activating system indexes for the new instruction as the default. Run it once with me. Catch: I always mess up under pressure. Clarify: I predict I will forget my points in this meeting when asked a direct question. Cross-check: I've handled questions before. I stumble when I rush and don't breathe. Believing I always mess up makes it likelier. Convert: under a direct question, I pause for one breath, repeat the question, and answer one point calmly. Notice the form of the convert step. It's a behavior recipe, not a wish. You just built yourself a future you can actually do. Take a sensory beat to lock it in. Place your thumb and index finger together gently and feel the soft give of skin. That touch will become your anchor for the convert step. Exhale for 6, as if you're cooling a spoon. Let your gaze widen until you can sense the edges of the room. You're telling your nervous system, we're not in a courtroom, we're in a workshop. A story to hold the loop. Aria, a senior nurse on a surgical floor, carries a script from a rough early career review. You're not leadership material. The words became a lens. When a new grad looks to her during a code, she feels heat rise behind her eyes, a metallic taste, and the sentence lands with its old weight. Catch: I'm not leadership material. Clarify: I predict I will freeze and make a poor call right now. Cross-check: I've led 3 codes this year. I falter when I clamp my jaw and stop asking for input. Believing I'm not leadership material tightens my throat. Convert: in a code, I breathe once, assign roles with names, and ask one confirming question out loud. Thumb to finger, 1 breath, outcomes, SAM, meds, Priya, charting. We're at epi 1 milligram, confirm. The room clicks into a rhythm. Later, leaning on the cool metal of a supply cart, Arya hears the old sentence knock on the glass and sees that it doesn't own the keys anymore. Recode doesn't erase history, it puts it in the right folder. Science briefly, only to point your hands. Beliefs are predictive models. Your brain, built for efficiency, uses them to save energy. Under stress, it prefers the shortest, most dramatic model because dramatic models kept ancestors alive. Effect labeling, breath with extended exhale, and a new instruction presented in if. Then format, recruit the prefrontal cortex to update the model. You don't have to love yourself to do this. You need to give your brain a cheaper, more reliable path to the reward of competence. Dopamine is a teacher. It stamps in whatever gets you a win. We are going to give it cleaner wins. Try the belief recode loop on a tender one. Think of a phrase that visits when you're alone. Maybe people leave, or I'm bad with money, or I'm too much. Catch it exactly. Hear its sound. Clarify the current prediction as if you're writing stage directions. Cross-check gently, partial truth, missing context, useful, then convert into a behavior you can demonstrate this afternoon. If it's money, perhaps, when tempted to avoid, I open my banking app, breathe once, and move $10 to savings. If it's abandonment, when I imagine they're pulling away, I text one clear, kind check-in and then put the phone down for 20 minutes. Your body understands recipes. Let your breath brush the back of your throat, feel the ribs widen to the sides, then knit back together. Soften your jaw and let the tongue rest heavy. Find a far sound. Find the quiet at the center of your chest. This is the room in which you update your code. You are the awareness, not the old line of text. The second framework clicks the instruction into place under pressure. The if-then bridge. If-then statements are implementation intentions. They bind a real cue to a tiny behavior, which your brain loves because it doesn't need to decide in the moment. You'll write them as if I sense X, then I will do Y for Z seconds. You keep Y so small it's hard to skip. That bridge turns insight into action while the amygdala is still loud. Pair it with the convert step. Aria's convert becomes an if, then. If someone looks to me in a code, then I inhale once, assign 2 names and tasks, and ask 1 confirming question. Your meeting fear becomes if I'm asked a direct question, then I breathe once, repeat the question, and answer 1 clear point. Your overthinking at night becomes if it's after 10 p.m. and my mind spins, then I set a 3-minute timer and write a plan, then plug my phone in the kitchen. Your anger in texts becomes if my fingers fly, then I stand, shake my hands for 10 seconds, and ask 1 clarifying question. The bridge is a promise written in the language of your body. Microdrill time, write 3 if, then bridges for cues you meet daily, notifications with your name, a sigh from someone you love, the mirror when you're tired. Keep each then under 30 seconds, then rehearse once like a fire drill. Your brain doesn't distinguish much between vivid rehearsal and reality. It will reach for the bridge when the siren sounds. We'll ground this in another story, Fluorescent with Printer Light. Matteo, a marketing analyst, carries the belief I'm behind. It pops like a toast notification whenever he opens his project tracker, followed by a spiral of tab hopping that ends in nothing done. Catch, I'm behind. Clarify, I predict I cannot finish key tasks today. Cross-check, sometimes I am behind, often I'm scattered. The belief kills momentum. Convert, when I open the tracker, I say the coach is cut, you're choosing 1 task, and I start a 15-minute sprint on the top item. If then bridge, if I open the tracker, then I set a 15-minute timer and write 3 sentences before I look at anything else. He pairs it with the focus anchor protocol from earlier, clear the deck, place the anchor, set the sprint, seal the start. After a week, the toast notification still pops, but his hands move differently. That's the quiet miracle of if, then. It ignores drama and installs movement. Pause, check your body. Feel the weight of your heels, the pressure where your back meets the chair. Inhale through your nose for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, and imagine the exhale brushing dust off a shelf in your chest. Let your gaze widen. This is how you keep the door open when the old belief knocks. Sometimes the belief is not about competence, it's about worth. If I don't respond immediately, they'll think I don't care. Or if I ask for help, they'll see I'm weak. These are identity sentences disguised as logistics. Use a companion move called the identity bookmark. A bookmark is a single line that names who you are choosing to be independent of the weather. Write it as I am the person who X, especially when Y, I am the person who protects clarity, especially when time is tight. I am the person who asks for help early, especially when quality matters. You tape this bookmark to your day with an if, then. If the old worth sentence lands, then I touch my thumb to my index finger, breathe once, and say my bookmark out loud. This isn't self-hypnosis. It's a reminder to your nervous system of the role you play. A domestic vignette to give it texture. June and Ray, co-parents, are planning a birthday for their 8-year-old. June's father rarely praised. June's belief reads, if I don't make it perfect, I'm failing. The party planning gets brittle, costs creep, tempers flare. June catches the belief when he notices his jaw clamped and the heat at his cheeks as he scrolls for a pricier cake. Catch, if it's not perfect, I'm failing. Clarify, I predict a store-bought cake will disappoint my kid and reflect badly on me. Cross-check, the kid loves time and silliness. Last year the cardboard fort beat the fancy cupcakes. Believing perfection equals love makes me tight. Convert, focus on delight over perfect. If then bridge, if I feel the perfection squeeze, then I breathe once, ask Ray 1 question, what would delight them most, and pick the simplest path. They end up with a messy piñata, a playlist, and a cake from the grocery bakery with too much frosting. The delight is obvious. June's chest feels wider, like a window cracked open on a cool night. Take a moment, feel the skin at your temples, the slight warmth there. Notice the air touching your upper lip on the exhale. Unclench your toes. This is the space where you choose delight over performance, truth over theatrics. To make the belief Recode Loop second nature, practice a daily 5-line edit. At the end of the day, jot down one belief that surfaced, write its convert instruction and pair it with an if, then bridge for tomorrow. Keep it short, a single sticky line, a single clean instruction, a single bridge. Over a month, you'll have a pocket manual of your old code and the upgrades that work. Your brain loves seeing its evolution. It will use the manual the way a pilot uses a checklist. There's a science bridge worth keeping near the surface. The more specific your if, then, the higher the follow-through. Vague bridges don't hold weight. If stressed, then breathe is a good start. If the calendar alert for 2:00 pops, then I exhale for 6, ask one clarifying question, and write one sentence is better. Specificity is kindness to your future self. It removes negotiation when blood rushes to the wrong places. A workplace scene bright with whiteboards. Priya, our founder from earlier, faces a board meeting. Her belief, born from a tough pitch years ago, they'll attack holes, I must be bulletproof. Catch, I must be bulletproof. Clarify, I predict questions mean danger and I'll be exposed. Cross-check, questions are the job. Being bulletproof makes me rigid, and rigidity sinks live discussions. Convert, welcome questions, use them to sharpen. If then bridge, if a question stings, then I inhale once, say great question, and ask, which assumption are you most curious about? After the meeting, she's surprised by her own steadiness. The board didn't turn kind, she turned skillful. Another sensory beat. Press your tongue gently to the roof of your mouth, then let it drop and rest heavy. Feel the shift in your throat. Let your shoulders lower as if a coat slid off them. Listen for the faintest hum in your environment. Place your attention there for 2 breaths. Attention is the handle you use to steer belief. When the belief is entrenched and sticky, add a micro-drill called evidence swap. For 1 minute, you list 3 times the old belief lied and 3 times the convert instruction worked. Keep it factual: dates, tiny wins, names. The RAS indexes what you rehearse. Feed it evidence for the new model, and it will serve you those clips first tomorrow. You may fear that replacing beliefs will make you gullible, that skepticism kept you safe. Keep skepticism, aim it correctly. Aim it at absolutes and self-attacks. Keep curiosity for your future. Recode isn't about pretending, it's about precision. A precise instruction aligned with your values beats a vague emotion every time. Close with a ritual that makes Recode a living practice, the morning cue card. On a small card or note, write your identity bookmark and the day's top 2 if, then bridges. Place it where your eyes land first, next to your keyboard, on your mug, as your phone wallpaper. When stress spikes, you don't need philosophy, you need a clear line your hands can do. The cue card is that line. Before we end, let's come back to your body. Feel the breath move under your palm if you place it lightly on your chest. Sense the weight of your hips, the solid push of the chair back. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, and imagine the old sentence leaving like fog on a window that a breeze clears. Whisper one pocket intention: I update the code and cross the bridge. You are the awareness writing instructions your biology can obey. You are not the belief. You are the editor and the engineer. Tomorrow a message will land wrong, a plan will wobble, or an old story will knock. You'll catch it, clarify its prediction, cross-check for truth and usefulness, convert it into something you can do. Then you'll cross the if, then bridge with one small step. The step will be quiet. The effect will not be. Your life bends toward the instructions you repeat. There is a difference between being calm and being congruent. Calm is the quiet surface. Congruence is the current underneath, moving in the direction you actually mean. Today you'll align the 2. Reactivity often begins not with an insult or a deadline, but with a mismatch between what you value and what you're doing. Your body knows before your mouth does. It tightens when you say yes while meaning no. It heats when you agree to a plan that bends your spine. You'll train 2 tools that turn values into behavior quickly. The first is the North Star check, a 30-second pass that realigns you with what matters most in this season. The second is the integrity micro-contract, a sentence you make with yourself before you speak with anyone else. With both, your responses stop being clever compromises and start being clean choices. Before we touch language, return to the instrument. Feel your feet, the subtle pressure where your heels meet the ground. Notice the temperature on your forearms, the fabric at your collarbone, the weight of your jaw, and how it drops when you let your tongue rest heavy. Inhale through your nose and count to 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6 as if you're cooling tea. This is you setting the room where congruence is decided. Your nervous system hears tone first. When you choose a steady tone, your words get permission to be true. The North Star check is simple enough to run between 2 blinks. You ask 3 rapid questions that target the brain's goal network and your reticular activating system at once. What matters most in this season? Who am I here to be in this moment? What is the smallest action that proves it? You answer in under 20 seconds, out loud if you can. The speed matters. Languishing invites bargaining. You use plain words a child would understand. You're not writing a manifesto, you're pointing your compass. A story to put it in fluorescent light. Sam, a sales lead, sits in a glass room with a prospect who wants a discount that would cut into the team's commission. Sam's old habit is to keep everyone smiling now and pay later in resentment. He feels the telltale signs, heat behind the ears, breath climbing his throat, jaw going rigid. The prospect leans in and says, "You can do 10% right." Time compresses. Sam touches thumb to forefinger under the table, inhales, and runs the North Star check. What matters most in this season? Building sustainable deals that keep the team healthy. Who am I here to be in this moment? A clear partner, not a pleaser. Smallest proof. Name the value and propose a workable structure. He breathes out, jaw soft, and says, "We protect service quality and team energy. I can move on terms and training. 10% would break quality. If we add a 2-session rollout, I can hold the rate and make your launch smoother." The prospect pauses, then nods. The deal finds a shape that fits reality. Sam leaves without the post-meeting shame he used to carry like a stone. Check your own body as you imagine Sam's moment. Feel the chair hold your weight without commentary. Let your gaze widen a degree until you can sense the left and right edges of your space. Notice a far sound, then the nearest, the quiet brush of your next exhale against your upper lip. You're teaching your nervous system that clarity does not require a raised voice. It requires a steady one. Congruence grows stronger when backed by a promise you make to yourself before you talk to anyone. That's the integrity micro-contract. It's a single sentence you whisper that binds your identity to a behavior for the next 10 minutes. You write it like this: "For the next window, I will be the person who value by action." It might be, "For the next 15 minutes, I will be the person who protects clarity by asking one clean question before offering solutions." Or for this call, I will be the person who honors energy by saying no with an alternative. The brain loves specificity. A micro-contract anchors it in place. When your amygdala tries to trade the contract away for short-term approval, you already have the terms in writing. Take a sensory beat to set your own contract. Place one palm on your chest and feel the lift on the inhale, the soft fall on the exhale. Press your toes into the floor and feel the ground push back. Let your shoulders drop like coats off hooks. Whisper a micro-contract that fits something on your day's path. Say it once more, slower. Notice the small current of resolve that hums in your ribs when words and body agree. You are the awareness, not the old reflex. Under the hood, here is why these small sentences bite. Your prefrontal cortex loves targets. Your dorsal attention network loves a cue. When you state a value and a proof, in language a child could test, the brain's prediction machinery has something better to do than imagine social disaster. Dopamine stops gambling for likes and starts guiding toward completion. The old narrative that made you reactive If I say no, I'll be abandoned. If I ask for time, I will look weak, loses some of its oxygen because your body got a different reward. Self-respect paired with a workable outcome. Science here is not a lecture. It's a lever you can pull with a line you can whisper. There's a companion move that keeps you honest when silence is your habit. It's called the visible line. Before a meeting, you write one sentence that you will say if the moment calls. Not a speech, a single line. I'm a yes to the goal and a no to this timeline. Or I want to support this and I need clarity on who owns testing. Or I can do this by Friday if we drop X. You put the line at the top of your notes. When adrenaline rises, you have a rope to grab. Your future self cannot be expected to invent truth while blood is sprinting away from the frontal lobe. Hand them a line. A domestic vignette to ground the same muscle in a kitchen with steam on the windows. Ria, a teacher, is married to Alejandro, a chef. Their schedules cross like trains at night. Ria's mother calls often, asking for help with errands. Ria loves to help and exhausts herself, then resents everyone. Tonight the phone lights up as Ria is chopping cilantro. She feels the old tug in her chest, a flutter at the throat, the thought, if I don't say yes, I'm a bad daughter. She breathes once and runs the North Star check. What matters this season? Protecting sleep and presence in their marriage. Who am I here to be? A caring daughter with a boundary. Smallest proof, propose a time that works. Micro-contract. For this call, I will be the person who protects energy by offering Saturday at 10 and declining Thursday nights. She answers and says, I want to help Saturday at 10. Tonight I'm going to rest. Her mother sighs, then says, Saturday is fine. The cilantro smells greener somehow. Ria isn't colder, she's truer. Feel the air on your cheeks for a second. Notice the slight cool on the inhale and warmth on the exhale. Unclench your toes, let your hands soften. Congruence lives in these small permissions first. When the body loosens, the truth can land without breaking the table. Sometimes the struggle isn't the boundary but the decision itself. You freeze between two goods or two bads, and your attention splits into ghosts arguing in the hall. For those moments, use the decision sandbox. A sandbox is a safe, bounded place where experiments don't wreck anything. You set a timer for 5 minutes and answer 3 prompts out loud. First, if this choice succeeds, my life feels like. And you speak in concrete scenes, Tuesday mornings with a quiet start, a calendar with 2 deep blocks, a partner who sees you at dinner. Second, if this choice fails, I can recover by, and you name specific moves, ask for feedback from X, run the reset, repair, refocus cycle, pivot the offer. Third, for the next 2 weeks, a reversible test looks like, and you define a small pilot with a stop date. When the timer ends, you choose the smallest test that honors your North Star and you write its date. Ambiguity loses its teeth when you give it a sandbox. A workplace scene shows the sandbox at speed. Layla, our product manager from earlier, is weighing whether to propose dropping a flashy feature that keeps slipping. The team is attached. The client is dazzled by it in demos, but delivery drifts. Layla's stomach feels like a fist. She runs a 5-minute sandbox. If this succeeds, our sprints feel sane and quality rises. The Friday demo ends with nods because we shipped 3 solid pieces. If it fails, I repair with a clear write-up and propose an alternative by Wednesday. I'll own the call. A reversible test looks like 2 weeks building a simpler backbone and measuring bugs with a hold on the flashy work. Timer ends, she writes the proposal. In the meeting, her voice shakes for 1 sentence, then steadies. The decision is not painless, it is precise. Pause and sense the weight of your head and the length of your neck. Let your shoulders drop another millimeter. Feel the chair press back, the floor push up. The body readies you for experiments when you signal that experiments are safe. You are the awareness setting the lab conditions. You'll add 1 more tool to keep your values visible when adrenaline fogs them, the 3-word North Star. Pick 3 words that define who you're practicing being this season. Calm, clear, kind, or steady, honest, courageous. or precise, generous, boundaried. You write them on a sticky note, the top of a dock, your lock screen. Before a tricky moment, you glance once and imagine wearing them like a jersey. Then you ask, what would a person in this jersey do next? Your brain loves roles. Give it one you admire, and it will try to live up. A short science bridge to connect this to your wiring. Identity-based cues light up reward pathways. When you act in line with a chosen identity, even in a tiny way, dopamine marks it as win, making repetition likely. This is why people who think of themselves as the kind of person who returns to breath before speaking actually return to breath before speaking. You are not hypnotizing yourself. You're selecting a pattern and giving your nervous system something satisfying to repeat. Microdrill this right now. Choose 3 words, whisper them, picture a small scene today where they apply. See yourself reach for the 4-4-6 breath, speak one clear line, and choose a boundary that protects energy. Feel the temperature of your hands. If they're cool, rub your palms together once and notice heat bloom. Anchor the words to that warmth. Later, when your hands warm, your brain will remember the jersey. Here's a small but potent move for moments when saying no sticks in your throat. It's the sandwich of truth and care. You begin with a genuine alignment, place the clean no in the middle, and close with a care that offers a path. It sounds like, I want this project to succeed and respect the timeline. I can't add this new scope by Friday. I can do a first pass by Wednesday next week or connect you with someone who has bandwidth. The amygdala on the other side hears that you're not abandoning the shared goal. You're protecting the means to reach it. Your own amygdala hears that you can be firm without being a blade. A personal scene lit by the yellow of a living room lamp. Devon, a grad student, is asked by a friend to help move apartments on the one-day Devon planned to rest. The old habit would be to say yes and simmer. Devon breathes, runs the North Star check, finish the semester steady, protect one day off, and whispers a micro-contract. For this text, I will be the person who honors rest by offering a later time. They write, I want to help and I'm guarding Sunday to recover. I can come by Tuesday after 5 or lend you my dolly. The friend replies, Tuesday works. Devon's body registers a warm heaviness in the chest, the feeling of living inside their own life. Take another sensory beat. Let your eyes soften until you can sense the movement in the room, the flutter of a curtain, the tiny sway of a plant, the motion of your breath rising and falling. Feel the edges of your ribs, the steady hinge of your jaw as it loosens. Congruence makes a room feel roomier because you're not pushing against yourself. You'll meet moments that test these tools harder than a meeting or a text. A parent's illness, a layoff, a friendship that needs a hard word. The tools still hold. They scale by tone and time. In a hospital corridor, the North Star might be I am the person who shows up and asks clear questions. The micro-contract is for this hour, I will listen and write 3 answers I need. In a layoff conversation, the North Star might be I am the person who treats people with dignity. The micro-contract is for this call, I will be honest, specific, and present, and I will follow with resources. Your breath is still your bridge. Your shoulders are still your instrument. You still ask, what is the smallest action that proves who I say I am? When guilt arrives, as it will, use a tiny companion called the guilt gauge. Ask, is this guilt about violating my values or about violating someone's preference? If it's values, repair. If it's someone's preference, breathe and return to your North Star. The brain's negativity bias will try to flag all guilt as emergency. The gauge right-sizes it. You are not required to bleed to be good. You are required to choose and to own your choices with care. Close today with a ritual that cements congruence into muscle, the evening evidence card. On a small card, write 3 lines. First, the smallest moment you honored your North Star, a question you asked, a boundary you held, a minute you rested on purpose. Second, a moment you drifted and how you repaired. Third, one proof you'll aim for tomorrow that takes 1 minute or less. Put the card where morning you will see it. Your reticular activating system will begin to search for chances to keep the evidence rolling. That search is your ally. It turns values from wall art into actions. Before you set the card down, do one more sensory check. Feel the air at your nostrils, the slope of your shoulders as they settle, the quiet weight of your hips on the chair. Imagine a window cracked open in your chest, fresh air moving the curtains inside. You are not becoming a different person. You are letting the person you meant to be have the steering wheel more often. Congruence does not make life softer, it makes you simpler. Simple is not boring, it is powerful. When the next ask arrives with a tone you used to obey, you'll feel the old heat and the new width. You'll run the North Star check in half a breath. You'll whisper a micro-contract and speak one visible line. Your chest will feel quieter after, even if someone frowns. That quiet is your receipt. You acted in line. You can sleep. You are the awareness behind the weather, not the weather itself. And you are the one who points the boat toward your star and rows with a rhythm your body believes. Power under pressure isn't loud, it's precise. Today you'll learn to turn heat into connection without losing yourself. Conflict is where reactivity hunts you hardest. You feel a word land wrong, your chest spikes, your mouth sharpens, and the conversation becomes a courtroom. But the minute you treat conflict as a lab instead of a battlefield, you gain options. 2 tools will carry you. The first is mirror, label lead, a conversational arc that calms the amygdala on both sides and steers toward a workable next step. The second is the heat-to-handle conversion, a quick somatic sequence that melts physiological charge into steady presence so your words don't leak adrenaline. With these, you stop trying to win and start aiming for truth you can move with. Before language, body, notice the weight of your thighs on the chair and the contact at your lower back. Inhale through your nose gently and then add one small top-up sip of air, like you're sniffing a rose. Exhale long and slow through pursed lips. That double inhale followed by a long exhale is the physiological sigh. It vents carbon dioxide quickly and loosens the chest. Do it once more. Feel the tiny slide of your ribs. Let your gaze widen until you sense the edges of the room. Your nervous system is listening. Tell it the lab is open, the scalpels are gentle, the lights are bright but kind. Mirror, label, lead is simple enough to run in a live fire. Mirror repeats back the last key phrase or the felt meaning in their words so the other brain hears itself. Label names the emotion you see without diagnosing character. Sounds like, seems like, I'm hearing. Lead offers a next small step that would help both of you see the same picture. It sounds like this. You're saying the deadline slipped twice and you're worried we'll miss the quarter. Sounds like you're carrying a lot of pressure. Would it help if we walk through the current blockers and ship a slimmed version by Friday? Mirror turns down threat, label recruits the prefrontal cortex, and lead gives dopamine a target. You're not softening truth, you're giving it handles. Try it on a memory. Picture the last hard conversation that left your stomach in knots. Feel for the texture of the room, the hum of a light, a smell you missed. Take one physiological sigh. Now mirror one line you remember without commentary. Label the emotion you sense they felt. Lead with a smallest step suggestion. If your mind says, "But I don't want to reward bad behavior," remind it that understanding is not agreement. It's the price of admission to influence. You are the awareness, steering a charged scene toward a workable path. A story to make it tactile. In a glass-walled conference room that smells faintly of dry erase marker, Jonah from earlier presents a plan. Midway through, his director, Keisha, says, "This reads like theory." The old hallway tightens, Jonah's tongue loads a defense. He remembers mirror, label, laid, and the sigh. He mirrors, reads like theory. He labels, sounds like you're not seeing the concrete steps you need to trust it. He leads, "If I show the 3 customer actions we're targeting and the first test we'll run Tuesday, would that land?" Keisha leans back, exhales, and nods. They spend 10 minutes on the test. The room feels different after, not because he yielded, but because he didn't escalate. He escorted both nervous systems back to the same table. Pause and check your own edges. Feel the air brush your upper lip on the exhale. Notice the temperature where your forearms meet the air. Let your jaw unhook a few millimeters and your tongue rest heavy. This is not performance, it's plumbing. Emotion drains when you unclench the valves that keep it pressurized. The heat-to-handle conversion is your pocket somatic sequence for fast surges. It has 4 moves you can run in under 40 seconds. Sigh, shake, set, see. Sigh is the double inhale and long exhale you just practiced, 1 or 2 rounds. Shake is a 10-second loose shake of hands and forearms under the table or by your side, letting micro-tremors vent adrenaline the way animals do after a chase. Set is the physical posture that communicates steady to your vagus nerve, both feet planted, shoulders dropped, chin level. See widens your gaze to peripheral vision, so your reticular activating system includes context, not just the threat. Then you speak. The sequence strips heat from your words so they can carry weight without burning. The brain believes bodies first. Give yours something believable. There's a science bridge worth 1 paragraph of attention. Mirroring lights up social resonance circuits and reduces perceived threat. Labeling engages language areas that downshift amygdala activation. A long exhale and small shakes vent sympathetic activation. Posture and gaze affect vagal tone and attentional scope. The result is not magic. It's math. Less cortisol, more prefrontal access, more flexibility. The method is a physical spell you can cast in public without anyone knowing. A domestic scene shows the same tools in a softer room. Marin from the kitchen story hears Jules say, "You're late again," and feels the flash in her cheeks. She runs heat to handle, 1 physiological sigh, a brief shake of her hands at her sides while she opens the fridge, sets both feet, widens gaze to include the stove, the window, the steam. Then mirror, late again. Label, feels like you've been alone in the evenings and it's wearing on you. Laid, if I handle cleanup tonight and we do a 10-minute Sunday plan for mornings, would that help? Jules's shoulders fall. They both eat warmer food. The night still contains human edges, but it doesn't cut. Check your breath again. Inhale without effort, sneak that little top-up sip, then slide the exhale out until you feel a soft drop behind your sternum. Sense your clothes on your shoulders. Let your eyes soften at the corners as if you're looking at a friend. Your body's tone becomes the room's tone more often than you think. Sometimes conflict is asymmetrical. Someone comes in hot, rehearsed, perhaps unfair. Mirror, label, lead still works, but you add a frame called the clean room. You create a boundary for the conversation that keeps toxins from spreading while you work. It sounds like, "I want to solve this and stay respectful. I'm a yes to specifics and next steps. I'm a no to name calling. If we slip, we'll pause and reset." You say it calmly, you mean it, and you enforce it with a quiet pause and a return to your boundary if lines are crossed. The clean room isn't a power move, it's hygiene. People can bring heat, they can't bring smoke that sets off alarms. A workplace vignette. Ava, the manager, meets with Marco after their rough month. He arrives armored. Your feedback is always late and confusing. Heat stings Ava's throat, she wants to litigate. Heat to handle first, sigh, shake inside a folded hand, set see, then the clean room. "I want us to succeed and talk to each other like teammates. I'm here for specifics and fixes, I won't do character hits." "Deal," Marco blinks, then nods. Mirror, label, laid, late and confusing. Sounds like you got guidance too close to deadlines and couldn't act on it. If we set feedback to Tuesdays at 2 with a 3-bullet format, would that help? The conversation travels ground, not circles. The clean room kept the air clear. Feel your body meet the chair. Notice the weight of your heels on the floor. Let your shoulders drop another fraction, like a coat sliding off a hook. The more your body can live in this posture under pressure, the less your mouth will swing a sword when a scalpel will do. A micro-practice to install all of this is the 2-line de-escalator. You write 2 sentences on a card you can see during tricky calls. Line 1 begins with sounds like and names their stake. Line 2 begins with what would help right now is and offers the smallest next step. In a live moment, you glance, breathe a physiological sigh, and say the lines with your voice turned down, not up. You're giving your future self a rope to grab while adrenaline tries to hand you a flamethrower. Another story, this one in fluorescent warehouse light. Lewis, the cafe owner, has a supplier deliver late twice. He calls and the rep arrives defensive. You changed the order last minute. Lewis feels pride flare, his jaw tightens, his pulse touches his tongue. Heat to handle, sigh, shake, set, see, he says, "You're saying our change created a crunch." He adds, "Sounds like you're juggling too many routes." Then, what would help right now is mapping a standing order by Tuesday and a cutoff for changes. If we miss it, we live with last week's numbers. Workable, the rep exhales. They draft a standing order on a coffee-stained clipboard. Lewis sleeps better. Boundaries plus care build systems. Systems lower reactivity. Return to your own senses. Find a far sound, then the nearest, the whisper of your breath or the subtle cloth shift at your shoulder. For one breath, imagine your field of view widening until you can see the door and the window at once, even if you're not facing them. Peripheral vision tells your brain, we are not in a corner. Options exist. There will be times when your opponent is your own mind. It hurls lines that sound like the other person. They never listen, this always happens. Mirror your own thought to yourself to buy distance. I'm hearing this always happens. Label it, sounds like fear of being ignored. Lead yourself, what would help right now is one clean request and one boundary. Then you speak to the human in front of you, not the ghost behind them. You're using the same circuitry to calm your inner courtroom. A tense crowd scene teaches another texture. Priya presents at a town hall after a feature delay. A handful of users come in hot. One shouts, "You don't care about us." Priya's stomach drops. The room's oxygen thins. She does one physiological sigh, widens her gaze to include both aisles, and says, "You're saying it feels like we don't care." She continues, "Sounds like you've hit bugs that block your work." Then she leads, "What would help right now is we name the top 2 blockers and commit to a hotfix by Thursday. I'll stand here while we write them down." The room shifts from verdict to inventory. A fix lands by Thursday. One more trust strand is woven. Public heat is still heat. Presence makes it usable. Check your posture. Slide your shoulders back and down. Let your chin level. Place your tongue gently on the roof of your mouth for a count of 3, then let it rest heavy. Feel how your throat opens. When throats open, words come out less like bullets and more like bridges. Sometimes the person in front of you wants drama more than resolution. Your job is to keep the lab open and decline the play. Use the boundary echo. You say, "I'm a yes to solving, I'm a no to shouting," or "I'm a yes to specifics, I'm a no to mind reading." If they continue, you echo once, "I'm still a yes to solving and a no to shouting." Then you enact the boundary. "I'm stepping out for 10 minutes, and I'm available again at 3:30 to land next steps." You aren't punishing, you're protecting the conditions for the work. Your self-respect grows each time you refuse to make a fire your god. There's a small drill called the compassion check that keeps your chest from hardening. Before a hard conversation, ask 2 questions. What might be true in their world that would make their behavior make sense? What do I want for us after this talk? Answer in a sentence each. Compassion is not capitulation, it's context. When your brain has context, your body softens, and soft bodies carry strong truths better. Neuroscience would point to the medial prefrontal cortex and theory of mind networks. You will notice it as less jaw and more breath. A living room scene shows the blend. Jules and Marin schedule their Sunday talk. Jules begins with the compassion check in mind. Marin's week ran hot. Kitchen chaos plus exhaustion equals clipped tones. Jules want after the talk, a plan and warmth. They run clean room rules out loud, no interrupting. We pause if voices rise, then use mirror label lead 3 times. You're saying mornings feel like sprints. Sounds like you need predictability. What would help right now is a 10-minute nightly reset and 2 alarms. They end up with a tiny laminated card on the fridge. Conflict becomes choreography. The kitchen keeps steaming, their chests stay quieter. Take one more physiological sigh. Feel the first inhale expand the top of your chest, the second sip fill the base, the long exhale melt the edges. Notice the heaviness in your hands as blood returns. The body is telling you it's ready to be an instrument, not an alarm. To make these tools reflexes, rehearse in low heat, speak mirror, label laid in mundane scenes. At a cafe, you're out of oat milk. Sounds like the delivery's late. What would help right now is whatever milk you can do fast. I'm good with regular. In a team thread, you're saying we need status. Sounds like you're worried we're drifting. What would help right now is a one-line update by 4 p.m. I'll start. The grooves don't know the difference between latte and layoff. They just know repetition. When the big surge comes, your mouth knows where to find the rails. Before we close, set one micro-contract for the next tense moment you will likely meet. For the next 10 minutes in the X meeting, I will be the person who keeps the lab open by using mirror, label, lead once and the heat-to-handle sequence before I speak. Say it softly. Picture yourself doing it, the top-up breath, the small shake, the set, the widened gaze, the simple line that lowers the room's shoulders. Anticipation trains the network that will run the pattern later. End with an identity turn. You are not the person who wins fights. You are the person who turns fights into work. You don't avoid heat, you convert it into handles. You are the awareness behind the weather, not the weather itself, and you can make rooms where truth is safe enough to be useful. Feel the chair hold you. Feel the breath leave like a tide leaving a shore. Imagine the next hard sentence arriving and your chest staying a little wider than it used to. That width is your receipt. When the spike hits, and it will, you'll sigh once, shake quietly, set your feet, widen your gaze, mirror one line, label one feeling, and lead with one next step. The room may not applaud. It will, however, move, and so will you. Momentum isn't magic. It's architecture. You've learned to widen windows and speak cleanly under heat. Now you'll build the room where that behavior happens by default. Reactivity thrives in cluttered environments and tired bodies. Response thrives where energy, cues, and friction point in the same direction. Today you'll install 2 frameworks to turn good intentions into gravity. The first is friction architecture, shaping your space so wise actions are downhill and reactive ones are uphill. The second is the energy loop, light, move, fuel, a 10-minute physiology-first routine that restores your baseline when your brain feels like it's running through mud. Together, they make mastery less about effort and more about design. Begin by inhabiting the room you're in. Feel the chair hold your weight without commentary. Notice the temperature on your forearms, the texture of fabric at your collarbone, the slight pressure where your feet meet the floor. Let your jaw unhook a few millimeters and sense your tongue rest heavy. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, and imagine the long exhale ironing ripples out of your chest. Your awareness is the architect. We're going to give it materials it can actually lift. Friction architecture has 3 moves you can remember as remove, reveal, root. Remove is subtraction. You take away one thing that steals attention or inflames reactivity from the place where it usually ambushes you. Reveal is exposure. You place the tool for your next wise behavior in the first spot your eyes land. Root is pathing. You lay a physical or digital rail that carries you from cue to action with as few decisions as possible. Your brain loves rails, reliable sequences that don't require argument. When rails exist, your reticular activating system stops chasing shininess and starts following tracks. Run the trio in a single corner of your life. If mornings spiral into scrolls, remove means the phone sleeps in another room. Reveal means your journal and pen sit open with a single prompt written the night before. What 1 inch will I move today? Root means a kettle and mug sit out. You set a silent 7-minute timer, and you do 4-4-6 breathing while the water heats. Then write 3 lines before touching anything with a notification. The sequence isn't a personality makeover. It's a path you can walk half asleep. Take a sensory beat. Feel the cool at your nostrils on the inhale and the faint warmth on the exhale. Trace with your attention the line from your left ear to your left shoulder and let that shoulder sink by a fraction. Hear the farthest sound in your space, then the nearest, perhaps your own breath. Your body is your drafting table. Calm design begins here. A story to show the wood and nails. Tessa is a software lead who thinks she has a motivation problem. She calls it the swamp between tasks. The swamp isn't laziness, it's friction in disguise. At 2:30 p.m., after a burst of meetings, she drifts into tabs, feeds, news, anything that gives small hits. Her chest tightens when Slack pings, her jaw ticks. She decides to build. Remove, she deletes the bookmark bar and logs out of the 2 sites that eat afternoons the fastest. Reveal, she places a physical index card on her keyboard at lunch that reads, 2:30 focus sprint, ship 1 test. Route, she creates a 20-minute brown noise playlist called Ship 1, saves a timer for 20 minutes labeled Make One Thing Real, and moves the testing dock to her desktop. At 2:28 she stands, drinks water, and at 2:30 the card is there like a friend tapping her shoulder. She hits the playlist, starts the labeled timer, and her hands move before her mood does. 3 days later, she tells a coworker, I didn't get disciplined, I got rails. Her heart doesn't race as often at 4:00. The swamp recedes because the path is paved. Under the hood, friction is physics for the nervous system. Every open loop, shiny cue, or hidden tool adds micro costs that your brain pays in glucose and attention. When the cost is high, reactivity buys the cheaper shortcut. Doom scrolling, defensiveness, delay. Removing is making the shortcut more expensive. Revealing is making the wise step cheaper. Routing is removing toll booths between intention and action. You don't need to become stronger to win. You need to make the wise move way less. Micro drill, pick one hotspot and run a 10-minute build. Set a timer. Minute 13, remove, put 2 distractors out of reach or behind friction. Phone in a drawer with a charging cord in another room. Social tab removed, TV remote on a high shelf. Minute 46, reveal. Put 2 anchors in plain sight, open dock, sticky note with the first sentence, water within reach. Minute 79, route. Preload 1 rail, open the timer, cue the playlist, place your fingers on the keys. Minute 10, breathe 446 once and begin. Architecture doesn't need hours, it needs decisions you can touch. Pause and check your hands. Are they cool or warm? Rub your palms together once and feel heat bloom, a gentle pulse waking at the pads of your fingers. Let your gaze widen until you can almost see the room behind you. This widening tells your RAS to include context again. It stops following the loudest pixel and starts seeing the path you just laid. There's a companion piece to friction architecture called the canyon rule. You've carved canyons in your day, deep grooves where behavior flows without effort because you've repeated it enough times. Some are useful, some carry you to swamp. The rule is simple. Don't try to fill an old canyon with sand. Dig a new canyon next to it and let water choose. If evenings mean glass plus scroll, carve a canyon that begins with shoe placement at 6 p.m., a 7-minute walk around the block, and a glass of water before any screen. If arguments with your partner begin at the sink, move the canyon, a 5-minute playlist and 2-person reset in the hallway before dishes. The brain respects terrain more than willpower. It's worth mentioning attention biology in 1 paragraph so your hands know why they feel lighter. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex handles planning. The habit loops live in basal ganglia. The RAS filters input. When cues are loud and tools are hidden, the filter serves noise. When cues are wise and obvious, the filter serves you. Expose the rail and your planning brain doesn't have to lift alone. The loop brain takes over with a song and a timer like a moving walkway. Now for the energy loop, light, move, fuel. Many reactive spikes aren't moral failures, they're low-voltage warnings. Your brain runs on cycles. When light intake, movement, and basic fuel crash, your amygdala gets mouthier and your window narrows. The loop is a 10-minute reset to regain access to your thinking brain when you feel the edginess that says, I could snap or spiral. 3 minutes of light, 3 minutes of movement, 3 minutes of fuel, 1 minute of breath. You'll do it at least once a day proactively, and anytime you feel the floor tilt. Light step where your eyes can drink. If you have sun, you face it. If not, you stand near the brightest window or a strong lamp. You don't peer at a screen, you let your pupils open to the largest field you can see. This input tells your circadian machinery, daytime, lifts mood, and anchors wake-sleep rhythms. Move. You pick a pattern your body can do even when uninspired. Slow squats, a corridor walk, a staircase up and down, shaking your arms and legs loose. The goal isn't sweat, it's blood moving and joints gliding. Fuel, a glass of water plus something with protein or fiber, a handful of nuts, yogurt, an apple with peanut butter. The 1-minute breath is 4-4-6 or a physiological sigh to seal the reset. Try a rehearsal. Imagine standing by a window, feel the light on your cheeks, cooler air at your nostrils. Roll your shoulders back and let them drop like coats off hooks. Do 3 easy squats or a slow walk to the door and back in your mind. Picture the cool of water on your tongue, the small weight of a snack in your hand. End with a long, slow exhale and feel your ribs descend like blinds. This is not a productivity hack. It's a truce with your biology. A vignette tiled in hospital grey. V, our resident, hits the wall at 4:10 a.m. on night 3. The pager buzz weighs more than her body feels like it can carry. Her mind starts the old math. You're behind, you're slow. She remembers the loop. Light. She stands in a hallway where the bright white fluorescents flood her eyes. She looks far down the corridor to pull her gaze from the chart. Move. She walks to the stairwell and climbs 2 flights, hands trailing the cool rail. Fuel. She finishes half a bottle of water and eats the peanut butter pack she stashed. Breath. 1 physiological sigh, 6 minutes, maybe 7. Her chest feels less hollow, her hands steadier. The pager still buzzes. She's different now, more access to the part of her that can choose. You may whisper, I don't have time. But reacting always takes longer than resetting. A snapped sentence costs hours of repair. A spiraled afternoon costs a night. The loop is a down payment on a karma ledger. 10 minutes feels like a lot until you pay the interest of not taking them. Sensory beat. Feel your lower back meet the chair. Sense your heels pressing into the floor, the slight bounce in the tendons at your ankles. Let your jaw relax so your molars don't touch. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, and imagine dust settling in a shaft of afternoon light. Your body understands metaphors when they are physical. We'll add a generator that powers both friction architecture and the energy loop, the trigger map. It's a 1-page sketch of your day where you mark the top 3 windows where you predict reactivity will hunt you. Morning inbox flood, 2:30 p.m. slump, 9:45 p.m. lonely scroll. Next to each, you script remove, reveal, route, and a loop you can run within reach. Example 2:30 slump, remove, log out of socials. Reveal, index card with ship 1 test on keyboard. Route, 20-minute timer plus brown noise. Loop, water by the window, 3-minute walk. Apple with PB, physiological sigh. You tape the map in an obvious place. Your brain loves routes. It loves them more when they're drawn. A workplace story shows the map in motion. Ava, the manager, notices she gets brittle at 5:20 p.m. when she's steeped in half-finished tasks and her team slacks. Quick question. The trigger map names it 5:20 brittle. Remove. She snoozes slack 5:15 5:45. Reveal. She places a shutdown 3 sticky on her monitor. File 1 thing, schedule 1, clear 1. Route. She creates a calendar block called clean exit that repeats. Energy loop. She stands, faces the window's last light, does 10 slow calf raises, finishes her water, breathes out long. The team still pings at 5:46. She's still human, but the brittle edge blunts. She leaves with a chest that feels like a room, not a hallway. Microdrill, write a trigger map on a scrap paper now. 3 times, 3 remove, reveal, root moves, 3 tiny loop notes. Don't wait for a perfect template. Imperfect maps still get you out of the woods. A science bridge to keep your faith. The circadian system, anchored by light, sets hormone rhythms that affect attention and mood. Brief daylight exposure stabilizes that system. Movement increases BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which supports neuroplasticity. You literally become more able to rewire when you move. Hydration and simple fuel stabilize blood glucose so the brain doesn't ring alarms that feel like anxiety. Long exhale increases parasympathetic tone. You don't need to remember the Latin. You need to trust that your physiology is programmable with minutes and that programs beat pep talks. Now we layer identity into architecture with a framework called the sanctuary habit. Pick one spot, desk, chair by a window, corner of a cafe, that becomes sacred for your first wise act of the day. The ritual is brief. You sit, you 4-4-6 once, you write one sentence that starts your anchor task, and you feel 2 sensations. The chair holding you, the breath leaving. You do this 5 days in a row at roughly the same time. After 2 weeks, your body will begin to sink into that posture and your hands will begin to move before mood arrives. The sanctuary makes your future self a regular, not a tourist. A tiny domestic scene to make it warm. Jules and Marin tape a card above the kettle that says T+10. It means that when the kettle clicks at night, they stand shoulder to shoulder for 10 quiet breaths or a 10-line conversation without phones. They remove phones on the counter, reveal 2 mugs, root kettle click equals turn to each other. On nights when the day tried to fray them, T+10 is glue. The ritual is small. Their chest feels wider after. This is response by design. Take another sensory beat. Feel the skin at your temples, the faint pulse there. Notice the sound that is farthest away and the one that is closest. Let your gaze soften so your periphery brightens by a degree. You're stocking the sanctuary with oxygen. Sometimes architecture fails. You'll find yourself in the old canyon, ankle-deep in scroll or knee-deep in defensiveness. That's when you use the one-tap turn. It has one rule: do not argue, do something. One breath, one question, one movement. In the scroll canyon, you press the phone's sleep button and stand. In the argument canyon, you say, I need a 2-minute reset. I'll be back at 3:10 with one proposal. In the swamp canyon, you open a blank note and type, what's the smallest step? And you do it. The turn is an action cue that interrupts inertia. Your brain respects motion more than commentary. A final vignette, fluorescent store light. Mateo, the student, takes a break in a back room and reaches for his phone. 10-minute slide. He hears his own breath go shallow, his jaw tighten. One tap turn, he presses the lock button, stands and walks the store's back corridor once, counting door hinges out loud. He returns to the break room, drinks water and eats half his sandwich. He exhales long. Back on the floor, he's less brittle, not a hero move, a hinge. Close today with a simple build you can do before sleep. Lay tomorrow's rails. Take 3 minutes to remove one thing that derails mornings, reveal one anchor for your first wise action, and root a first minute you could do eyes half closed. Shoes placed by the door for a dawn walk. Journal open with a line, kettle filled. Index card with, now I make one thing real, sitting on your keyboard. Then write in 3 lines. The top inch you'll move, the energy loop slot you'll protect, the time you'll run your trigger map. Your RAS will index for those cues overnight. In the morning, your hands will reach for rails you laid without drama. That's not magic, that's stewardship. Before we set the plans down, feel your body one more time. Place a palm lightly on your chest and another on your belly. Inhale and feel the top hand rise a little, then the bottom. Exhale and let both fall together, slower than you planned. Sense the weight of your hips, the chair's steady support, the quiet in the air around you. Whisper a pocket intention, I build rails, I run the loop. You are not depending on moods to choose wisely, you are designing a day that chooses with you. You are the awareness behind the weather, not the weather itself. And your architecture will hold when storms move through. When the next reactive tug comes, and it will, you'll glance at your trigger map, breathe once, run light, move fuel if your voltage is low, and follow the rail you laid with remove, reveal route. Your chest will feel a little wider, your hands will move a little sooner, your words will come out a shade cleaner. Momentum will look less like pushing a boulder uphill and more like rolling along a track you built with small, kind decisions. Confidence that doesn't wobble is not born from compliments, it's built from proof. Proof comes from actions so small they look like nothing until they add up to a new story about who you are. Today you'll learn to manufacture that proof on purpose, to stack it neatly, and to calibrate quickly when a stack leans. 2 frameworks will carry you. The first is the Proof Stack Protocol, a simple way to convert tiny wins into identity-level certainty your amygdala can't argue with. The second is the Calibration Cycle, a quick loop, plan, do, feel, learn, adjust, that keeps you improving without the drama that usually chases growth. With both, you stop waiting to feel ready and start creating readiness as you move. Begin in the body that will do the proving. Feel the chair holding your hips, the quiet push of the floor up through your heels. Notice the temperature on your forearms, the fabric at your collar, the faint texture of your fingertips against each other. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6 through pursed lips, and let your shoulders drop a fraction on the long breath out. Sense your jaw unhook by a few millimeters. This is your home base. Proof grows best in calm soil. The Proof Stack Protocol works because your nervous system believes what it can count and what it can feel. You'll build stacks in 3 layers: micro-acts, micro-checks, micro-celebrations. Micro-acts are the smallest wise actions you can complete in under 2 minutes that align with your North Star. Micro-checks are the visible marks you make immediately after: 1 tick, 1 dot, 1 short line, so your reticular activating system learns to spot completion. Micro-celebrations are 1 breath paired with a sentence that honors the identity you're training. I'm the person who starts small and finishes. You run the trio 3 to 5 times a day in different pockets, not for hustle, but for evidence. Evidence changes the story. Stories change your reflexes. Make it tactile now. Think of 1 inch you could move today, send a clarifying line, write the first sentence of the draft, drink a glass of water, ask 1 kind question, take a quiet lap around your building. Do 1 of them right now if you can. Then make a micro-check, draw a dot on a sticky note or type a single asterisk in a tiny proof note on your phone. Micro-celebrate with a breath, inhale 4, exhale 6, and whisper, good, that's 1. Feel the subtle warmth bloom behind your sternum as you do. You're not cheering for show. You're pairing completion with parasympathetic tone so your body craves it later. That pairing is the whole trick. A story under fluorescence shows how small stacks reshape a day. Tam, the staff attorney who battled interruptions, thought confidence came after big wins. She decided to try the proof stack for 1 week. Monday, she defined micro-acts. Start the brief with 1 messy paragraph. Ask 1 clarifying question before noon, run 1 20-minute focus sprint, write a 2-line update to her boss without apology. Each time she completed 1, she put a blue dot on a small card and took a long exhale. At first it felt silly. By Thursday afternoon something shifted. When an urgent Slack arrived at 3:05, she didn't flinch into defensiveness. She looked at the card, saw 9 dots, felt the clean weight of a day already dotted with proof, and typed, got it. Which part matters most? Confidence wasn't a mood, it was a stack. Feel your own breath again. Notice the coolness at the nostrils as air arrives, the soft warmth as it leaves. Widen your gaze until you can sense the edges of your space. Press thumb and index finger together lightly and feel the give of skin. Anchor the proof stack to that touch. Every time you make a micro-check, repeat that touch. Your basal ganglia will learn the dance, act, mark, breathe, touch. Dance long enough and the floor remembers your feet. Proof without calibration turns rigid. Calibration without proof turns slippery. Enter the calibration cycle. It's a fast loop you run after any meaningful rep. Plan 1 inch, do it, feel what happened in your body, learn one sentence, adjust one variable for next time. You speak each step out loud if you can, in plain words a child would get. The speed matters. You don't let your inner prosecutor convene a grand jury, you convene a kitchen table. The cycle keeps your identity from becoming brittle by turning mistakes into data and wins into recipes. Run it with me on something fresh. Plan, next I'll draft the first 3 lines of the proposal. Do write them, feel, heart sped at line 2, shoulders rose, exhale softened me. Learn, long exhale before line 2 helps, the verb clarify felt strong. Adjust, tomorrow breathe once, then start lines with verbs. This is not journal therapy, it's engineering. You're installing conditions your prefrontal cortex likes and your amygdala can tolerate. Repeat it 3 times today, and your brain will start to loop without being asked. Let's place the cycle in a real room. Jonah, the UX designer texting Lena, started testing a morning stand-up he hosts. The first one he rushed, talked too long and left with a dry mouth. He ran calibration in 30 seconds, plan was a 10-minute stand-up, do was 12, feel was tight jaw and breath in the throat, learn was that asking for blockers first engaged the room, adjust was a timer set to 9 minutes and a sticky note with blockers first. Next day he did it. After a week, the stand-ups felt like small boats with real oars rather than speedboats he barely controlled. He became the person who learns out loud, which meant he stopped hiding mistakes. Hiding is where reactivity breeds. Learning kills the humidity. Science briefly, so the cycle has a backbone you can trust. When you name what you felt during an action, you're training interoception, the brain's map of the body's signals, which improves emotional regulation. When you extract one sentence of learning and one adjustment, you're laying down a procedural memory in the striatum. When that memory repeats, it becomes less fragile under stress. Your dopamine system stamps in the loop because it detects progress, not perfection. The names don't need to live on your tongue. The breath and the sentence do. Check your senses again. Feel the subtle weight of your clothing where it meets your shoulders, the pressure of the chair against your lower back. Let your shoulders drop like coats off hooks. Listen for the farthest sound, now for the nearest, maybe the whisper of your breath. You are not trying to impress your nervous system, you're trying to partner it. Confidence that sticks survives bad days. That means building stacks and running cycles when the weather goes gray. You'll use a companion move called the rainy day clause. It's a tiny amendment you add to any plan. If my energy is low or the day tilts, I'll execute the smallest version and still mark it. If the draft was 3 paragraphs, the clause makes it 1 sentence. If the workout was 20 minutes, the clause makes it 5 slow squats and a walk to the mailbox. You still check the box, you still breathe the long exhale, you still whisper, good, that's 1. The clause prevents perfectionism from stealing your identity. You are not proving you're impressive, you're proving you're reliable. A domestic vignette shows the clause at home. Jules planned T+10 with Marin and the fridge card glints at 8:45 p.m. The day went sideways. A headache hovers behind Jules' eyes and the sink glares. The clause whispers smallest version. They stand for 3 breaths, touch hands, and ask 1 question each. The sink waits. The card earns a dot. They go to bed with the feeling of having kept their word. Sleep respects people who keep tiny promises to themselves. There's a micro drill that turbocharges stacks and cycles called the 2-minute movie. Before a rep you care about, you close your eyes and run a 120-second mental film. The room, the breath, the first line you'll speak or type, the one sensation you'll monitor, jaw loose, shoulders low, and the smallest adjustment you'll make if heat rises, exhale long, ask 1 question. Then you open your eyes and begin. Vivid rehearsal lights up many of the same circuits as real action. Your brain gets a preview of success that makes success likelier. You are not manifesting, you are warming the groove you plan to step into. Use it in a boardroom with Priya. 10 minutes before her update, she sits by a window. She feels cool glass under her palm, hears the low buzz of HVAC, tastes the faint mint from her tea. She runs the movie, slide one, say, we're targeting 2 assumptions, breathe once when the first question stings, ask, which assumption feels riskiest? Shoulders drop, chin level, voice steady, then she walks in. When the sting arrives, it feels familiar rather than fatal. Familiarity is your friend. You'll also install a small mechanism called the micro-reward loop. The brain repeats what feels good soon after it happens. You will pair completion of a micro-act with a reward that is wholesome, tiny, and immediate, a stretch that feels delicious, a step outside to let daylight touch your retina, a sip of cold water, a single square of chocolate you savor on your tongue. You say out loud, that's the taste of done. Over time, done becomes a flavor your nervous system will hunt. You will find your hand reaching for the first sentence simply because the aftertaste is good. A workplace story under warm cafe bulbs shows the loop in the wild. Lewis, our cafe owner, uses the loop between rushes. After he ships one staff schedule with clean shifts, he steps outside to the alley, lifts his face to the sun for 10 seconds, and breathes out long. That's the taste of done, he says, smiling at his own cheesiness. It feels silly until his afternoons get smoother because his body wants more moments like that. The loop trained a craving better than shame ever did. Check your breath again. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. As you exhale, imagine a soft curtain moving in a quiet room. Feel the warmth in your palms. Rub them together once and feel heat bloom. Anchor done to that warmth. Later, when you feel the heat, your body will remember the flavor. What about setbacks that gnaw, the kind that shake your story? You don't pep talk those away. You run a framework called the failure to feedback flip. It's 4 sentences you say out loud after any painful miss, each sentence moving you one rung up from shame to usefulness. Sentence 1, the raw fact, camera on. Sentence 2, the weather in your body. Sentence 3, the smallest thing that still worked. Sentence 4, the next micro-act that proves you're still the kind of person you say you are. I missed the client's question on margins. Heat in my face, jaw tight. I stayed in the room and asked for the slide. Next, I'll email a clean margin breakdown by 300. Then you do it and mark a dot. Shame wants a life sentence. The flip writes community service and puts you to work. Work heals. A fluorescent hallway vignette gives it texture. Ava, the manager, blanked in a leadership QA. A peer filled the silence with a smug remark. Ava felt the floor tilt, her throat close, her stomach drop. Later, in a quiet room, she ran the flip out loud, voice shaking on sentence 1, steadier by sentence 4. She sent the breakdown at 2:55. The peer's comment stayed sharp, but the day didn't end there. Confidence is not lack of sting, it's a path after the sting. Confidence also grows when you track what you admire in yourself with precision rather than waiting for someone else to notice. You'll run a micro-practice called the integrity mirror each night. You stand in front of a literal mirror for 10 breaths, look yourself in the eyes once, no searching, no squinting, and speak one sentence that starts with I respect that I, followed by a specific action from that day that aligns with your values. You do not add a but, you breathe after. That's it. Some nights the sentence will be small, I respect that I sent the clean apology. Other nights larger, I respect that I said no with care. 10 breaths, 1 sentence, out. Your nervous system learns to trust that your witness is kind and accurate. Kind accuracy is where sturdy confidence grows. A small story in bathroom light. Mateo, the student, tries it after his shift. He sees under eyes he wants to judge. He breathes and says, I respect that I locked my phone and took the lap. His chest loosens a notch. He sleeps without the old mutter in his head. In the morning, he has room to try again. Let's widen the lens with a framework that ties all of this together. The evidence economy. Attention is a currency. Every day you spend on either evidence for I'm reactive or evidence for I respond. Your RAS will index whatever you pay first. The proof stack protocol is the mint. The calibration cycle is the bank. The failure to feedback flip is debt restructuring when a bill comes due. The integrity mirror is your daily ledger close. If you spend early on proof, your mind has less budget for panic purchases later. This is not positive thinking, it's accounting. Take a sensory beat. Feel the slope of your shoulders as they settle. Notice the air on your cheeks. Press your toes gently into your shoes and sense the floor push back. Let your gaze widen until you can almost see behind you. Your body is the vault where you store this economy's assets. You may wonder, where do I start when everything calls for attention? Start where friction is lowest and meaning is highest. That's your leverage point. It might be the first 10 minutes after you sit down, where a single sentence creates a proof dot and a taste of done. It might be the 2 minutes before a call, where a 2-minute movie and a calibration whisper turn a talk into a lab. It might be the integrity mirror, where you stop outsourcing your self-respect to the most critical person in the room. Start there, then let momentum do what willpower can't. One more story, warm with kitchen light and the smell of toast. Ria, the teacher, claims she just wants to feel like someone who follows through. She chooses the smallest proof stack, 3 micro-acts before noon. She writes the day's objective on the board before students arrive. She sends 1 clean check-in to a parent by 9:30, and she does a 446 before her most chaotic class. After each, she marks a dot on a note in her pocket and whispers, "That's one." On Wednesday, a surprise observation flusters her. She runs the failure to feedback flip between periods. That night, she does the integrity mirror. After 2 weeks, she feels an unglamorous calm settle under her collarbone. When a student rolls eyes on Friday, she doesn't snap. She says, "Seems like you're done. What would help right now is you take 2 breaths and then tell me what's hard." The room follows her voice. Follow-through became a flaw, not a hope. Before you close this chapter, stack your first 3 proofs for tomorrow and pre-write your calibration lines so your future self doesn't have to think. Pick 3 micro-acts you can do in under 2 minutes. 1 breath plus 1 sentence before your first message. 1 20-minute sprint. You start with the first line already written on a sticky. 1 clean boundary. You'll speak with a visible line during the tense meeting. Pair each with a micro-check, a dot on a card, and a micro-celebration, a long exhale and a single step into the light. Then write the calibration lines you'll use. Plan, first sentence, do, now, feel, jaw loose, learn, exhale helps, adjust, ask 1 question first. Put the card where your eyes land. Take 1 last sensory inventory. Place 1 hand on your chest, the other on your belly. Inhale and feel the top hand rise a little, then the bottom. Exhale and let both descend slower than you planned. Notice the quiet of the room, the way your ribs glide, the way your jaw softens when your tongue rests heavy. Whisper a pocket identity cue, "I build proof, I keep learning." Feel how that sentence sits in your chest, heavier than a slogan, lighter than a demand. That's how it should feel. You are the awareness behind the weather, not the weather itself. You don't wait for confidence. You issue it, 1 dot at a time, with a body that breathes and a mind that learns. When the next test arrives, and it will, you'll run the 2-minute movie, do the micro-act, mark the dot, breathe the long exhale and say, "That's one." You'll run the calibration cycle in a sentence. If you stumble, you'll flip failure into feedback, send the clean repair and take the next inch. Your chest will feel roomier by evening. The stack will grow, and the person you wanted to be will stop being a guest and become the host. Mastery that lasts is not a trick you remember, it's a life you're building. Today you'll stitch everything together so your calm isn't a mood but a climate. Climate is what persists when the weather throws a tantrum. You'll train 2 frameworks that keep your system honest over weeks and months. The first is the weekly flight deck, a Sunday ritual that turns scattered tools into 1 clean control panel. The second is the identity drift detector, a 5-minute scan that catches you when you slide back into old reflexes and escorts you gently to center. With these, you turn techniques into an operating system that updates itself. Begin in the room you control most, your body. Feel the weight of your hips in the chair, the quiet pressure where your lower back meets support. Notice the coolness at your nostrils as you inhale and the warmer air as you exhale. Let your jaw slacken by a few millimeters and place the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth, then let it drop heavy. Roll your shoulders back and down as if a coat slid off a hook. The body reads this as permission to access thinking. You are the awareness giving that permission on purpose. The weekly flight deck happens once, takes 20 minutes, and keeps you from treating every day like a separate emergency. Picture a cockpit, a tidy cluster of gauges you can read at a glance. Your gauges are windows, work, wiring, and we. Windows are the moments you protect for space, the focus anchor sprints, T+10, the light, move, fuel loop, named on the calendar, not held in your head. Work is the single outcome that would make the week matter, translated into 2 anchor tasks that begin with first sentences you can actually write. Wiring is the habit you are reinforcing this week, phrased as an if, then bridge pinned where you'll see it. We is the care you give to the humans who hold your life together. 1 explicit appreciation, 1 boundary you'll speak with care, 1 repair if a thread is frayed. You set these 4 gauges while your chest is quiet and the week flies straighter. Make it tactile. It's Sunday evening. Light fades through the window and glances off a glass on the table. You sit, breathe a 446 and pull a blank page. Windows, you block 2 25-minute sprints for Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30, a 10-minute reset lap at noon each day, T+10 on the fridge. Work, 1 outcome, ship a clean draft to the team by Friday, and 2 anchor tasks with first sentences pre-written in the doc. Wiring, if my name appears in a notification, then I exhale for 6 and ask 1 clarifying question. You text your teammate, I appreciate the way you cut through noise in stand-ups. You write a visible line for Wednesday's meeting. You schedule a 10-minute repair with your sibling you've been dodging. You look at the page and feel your ribs widen with the relief of search becoming structure. You're not hoping to be responsive. You're building a week that rewards response. Story, fluorescent and ordinary. Tessa, the software lead who built Rails at 2:30 p.m., hits a stretch where everything wants to sprawl. Product review, a hiring loop, a birthday she wants to show up for. She runs flight deck on Sunday night at her kitchen table, the hum of the fridge a steady metronome. Windows, 2 ship 1 sprints and a Friday 4:00 p.m. clean exit block. Work, deliver a stable demo environment. Wiring, if a Slack says urgent, then I stand, take a physiological sigh and type, what's the smallest version that solves it? A note of thanks to QA, a boundary with a recruiter, a dinner reservation for the birthday. Wednesday tries to tangle anyway. She glances at the page taped to her monitor, feels the tug in her jaw ease and follows the gauges. The demo ships. The birthday smile is real. Weeks like this don't happen by accident. They happen because she built a cockpit and flew it. Pause, feel the fabric at your forearms, the way it drapes and presses. Notice the farthest sound in your space, then the nearest, perhaps your breath brushing your upper lip. Let your gaze widen as if you're taking in the whole horizon at once. The nervous system hears horizon and loosens. Loosened systems make better choices. The identity drift detector is a 5-minute check that keeps your compass honest. Drift happens when the currents of urgency pull you slowly away from your North Star. You notice it as a tone in your voice you don't like, a phone in your hand when you didn't intend it, a room that feels narrow again. The detector asks 3 questions and prescribes 1 microcorrection. The questions are, where did I react this week? Where did I respond? Where did I go numb? You answer each with 1 scene. The correction is a tiny action you will take in the next 24 hours that proves your identity in the area you drifted most. This isn't judgment, it's navigation. Boats drift. Good captains check. Run it now on the week behind you. React, the moment you cut someone off and felt heat in your face. Respond, the morning you ran the signal-to-noise switch and shipped a clean update. Numb, the late-night scroll that left you hazy. Correction, tonight, plug the phone in the kitchen at 9:30, leave a glass of water by the bed, and set a card that says first sentence at 7:40. As you write the card, notice the small current of relief under your sternum. That sensation is your nervous system agreeing to sail with you. A domestic scene shows drift and detection in a softer light. Rhea, who guards sleep and presence, notices her tone sharpened twice in a week with Alejandro, the chef. No blow-ups, just little nicks that accumulate. Saturday afternoon, she sits on the couch as sun flags across the floor and runs the detector. React, I snapped when he left pans in the sink. Respond, I used clear then call about mornings. Numb, I scrolled in bed on Thursday until midnight. Correction, T+10 at 8:45 and a clean request tomorrow. Let's decide sync rules and stick to them. Her jaw loosens. In the kitchen, the laminated card catches the light. Drift doesn't become a story because she noticed it while the wind was mild. A science bridge, brief and practical. Regular reflection that pairs scenes with sensations strengthens the insula, the brain's interoceptive hub, improving your ability to catch state shifts earlier. Tiny future actions create implementation intentions that the striatum loves, making follow-through more likely. The detector is not woo, it's wiring maintenance. Your amygdala will always prefer short roads. The detector keeps repainting the lines to the long road you chose. Check your breath. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, as if you're fogging a mirror in winter. Feel your shoulders drop on the long exhale. Let your tongue rest heavy. Widen your field of view. You're ready to install a few supporting structures that make the flight deck and detector even stickier. The first is the archive of wins, not a scrapbook for ego, a bank for dark days. Every Friday you write 5 lines, the smallest responses you're proud of in camera language. Asked one clarifying question at 11:06 when tone spiked. Walked the reset lap at 2:02 instead of numbing. Held a clean boundary, yes to the goal, no to this timeline. No adjectives, just film clips. You'll want this when a hard week lies and says, you're back where you started. You will open the archive and show your nervous system the truth, then breathe and choose again. Evidence breaks spells. A story under lead office light. Ava, the manager, has a rough quarter where a project slips and a peer feels adversarial. Her archive is a sparse Google Doc with dates and sparse lines. On a Thursday when the hallway narrows, she opens it and scrolls 3 months of small clips. Her chest releases a notch. She sends one clean repair. The quarter doesn't transform into a movie montage. It becomes survivable without her worst self-steering. The archive gave her spine when mood didn't. Now a framework that protects your nights so your days have a chance. The shutdown ceremony, 5 minutes. You close loops with 3 moves you already know. File 1, schedule 1, clear 1. File a stray note, schedule a task you kept inside your head, clear 1 visual mess from your desk. Then you write a single sentence that begins tomorrow's first task. You speak out loud, workday closed. Then you touch a doorframe on your way out, feel its cool solidity, and breathe a long exhale. Crossing thresholds on purpose trains your nervous system to stop dragging your office into your bedroom. Sleep isn't a luxury, it's neural consolidation. Without it, windows shrink. Feel your own threshold for a moment, the edge of the chair under your thighs, the cool at your nostrils, the warm air on the exhale. Imagine standing, touching a doorframe, and letting your shoulders drop. The body understands rituals better than calendars. Give it one, and it will repay you with better mornings. Let's widen the sanctuary motif and make it portable. You'll carry a sanctuary card, palm-sized, laminated or not, with 2 lines, your 3-word North Star and your pocket breath. When reactions hunt you in unfamiliar rooms, airports, in-laws, living rooms, fluorescent conference halls, you hold the card, feel its edges, and run 1446. Then you ask, what's the smallest action that proves these 3 words here? Your physiology now has a bridge to the identity you chose, wherever you are. Environments stop owning you. Story beneath airplane cabin noise. Priya, the founder, is flying to a board offsite. Turbulence jostles coffee. A Slack from a top customer reads urgent. Her stomach tilts. She feels for the card, steady, honest, precise. She breathes 446 as the air conditioner hums at her feet. She types one line, "I'm in the air, I can answer in 40 minutes. What's the smallest version that would unblock you now?" The reply is already softer when she lands. A card held in a rattling seat became a room. Sometimes the drift comes from deeper roots, grief, change, a season that rearranges everything you thought you could predict. You won't hack that with timers. You'll use the compassion ledger, a quiet addition to your week that keeps hardness from calcifying. 3 lines on Sunday night, 1 human limit you'll respect, 1 help you'll ask for, 1 grace you'll offer to someone who is trying. Limit, bedtime at 10:00 p.m. Help, ask for an extra day on the deck. Grace, colleague learning the new system. People confuse compassion with softness. It's calcium. It strengthens the bones of your boundaries so they don't shatter when weight lands. Take a breath and set your own ledger for the week. Limit, help, grace, say them softly. Notice the micro-release in your throat as you ask. Your nervous system is wired to co-regulate. Pretending otherwise is how reactivity keeps you isolated. Asking wisely is grown-up courage. A kitchen vignette shows co-regulation's quiet math. Jules and Marin are both in heavy weeks. They place a sticky on the fridge, signal low battery with 1 sentence, "I'm at 20%. Now, instead of interpreting clip tone as attack, they treat it as a dashboard alert. T+10 becomes battery swap, not scorekeeping. The home stays gentle even when the week is. Gentleness is a strategic choice. It's a condition for performance. Check your body again. Feel your palms, rub them together once and notice heat bloom. Sense your heels on the floor and the pushback from the ground. Let your gaze widen until you could almost sense the room behind you. Your body is still the room where choices are made. You are still the awareness keeping the room lit. You'll meet weeks when you forget all of this. You'll wake into a day that yanks you by the collar and you'll be 3 hours deep in a canyon before you notice. When that happens, and it will, use the 0-second pardon. The moment you notice, you give yourself an immediate pardon for the minutes you lost. No case argued. You say, "Starting now," and you do the smallest wise thing in reach. 1446, 1 sentence, 1 clean line, 1 glass of water. If a voice protests, you label it, "I'm hearing the prosecutor." Then you move. This is not letting yourself off the hook. It's cutting the rope that keeps you dragged behind the truck of shame. Shame is expensive. Pardon is fuel efficient. A fluorescent hallway scene again. Matteo has a day where every customer feels like a test he's failing. At 4:20 he bites his inner cheek, tastes metal, realizes he hasn't breathed in an hour. 0-second pardon lands like a hand on his shoulder. Starting now, he says. He sets a timer for 3 minutes, walks the back corridor, counts the vents in the ceiling, breathes a physiological sigh. He comes back and wipes down a shelf. The day didn't become a movie. It became survivable and slightly dignified. Dignity multiplies. By closing, his chest is less narrow. A pardon was the hinge. You can also inoculate against drift with the Future Self broadcast. Each morning, you leave a 30-second voice note to tonight, you, 1 line about what matters, 1 line about how you'll treat the hard part, 1 line of care. We're making one thing real by 10:00. When the 2:30 dip hits, we walk and ship 1 sentence, eat something green, proud of you for showing up. At 8:30 p.m. you listen. The sound of your own voice, carrying your values through 12 hours, is strangely persuasive. The brain believes voices. Give it yours with a tone you respect. Brief science before we close the circle. When you hear your own voice with a calm, directive tone, you recruit prefrontal attention and downshift limbic noise. Self-generated cues can be more effective than external alarms because identity rides in on them. When you pair that voice with a physical anchor, 4-4-6 peripheral gaze, you create multimodal redundancy. If one fails, another catches. Systems fail gracefully when redundancy exists. We're engineering grace. Feel your breath again, the brush against the back of your throat. Feel the slope of your shoulders as they settle. Notice the quiet between sounds in the room. You are building a climate, not chasing a weather report. Climate is built through small rituals, honest checks, and consistent mercy. Here is a story to braid strands. Jonah, our UX designer, is 6 months into these practices. A product launch collides with a family emergency. He drives to a hospital with fluorescent hallways and coffee that tastes like paper. Drift could own him. He opens the sanctuary card in the lobby light and breathes. He runs a flight deck in miniature on a sticky. Windows 2 15-minute calls from the parking lot. Work, ship the Thursday test. Wiring, if the phone buzzes with Slack, then I write one sentence before I reply. We text Lena, I'm scared and I'm here. He runs the identity drift detector in the bathroom mirror on Friday. React, snapped at a nurse under stress. Respond, asked a clean question in stand-up from the car. Numb, scroll at midnight. Correction, call and apologize to the nurse's station. Plug phone in at 10:00. He sends the apology. He sleeps. He ships. He holds Lena's hand. This is not a glossy life. It is a congruent one, chosen in inches under fluorescent light. Take one last sensory beat before the week you will fly. Place a palm lightly on your chest. Feel the rise meet your hand. Let the fall take longer than you planned. Sense your hips rooted and your spine subtly lengthening. Listen for the quietest sound in the room. Let your gaze soften until your periphery brightens. Whisper the jersey you'll wear this week, your 3 words, and the smallest proof you'll place each day. Feel the way that sentence lands in the middle of your chest. That landing is the runway. In the days ahead, a comment will sting, a plan will wobble, a night will come too short. You'll glance at your flight deck and follow the gauges. You'll run the detector and choose one correction. You'll pardon yourself when you forget and pick up the smallest wise action without theater. You'll archive wins so your future has film to watch when the room feels small. You'll lay rails and run loops and keep the lab open. You'll continue to become the person who masters the space between stimulus and response, not through slogans, but through breath, design, and mercy. You are the awareness behind the weather, not the weather itself. You're not chasing calm, you are cultivating climate. There is a moment after the last chapter when the room goes quiet and a question appears. Who do you become when no one is watching? Mastery was never about impressing a crowd. It was about building a self you trust at 7:10 a.m., at 2:30 p.m., and at midnight when the world presses a thumb on your sternum. Today you'll stitch the final seam with 2 closing frameworks that make your calm contagious. The first is the Keystone Day, a simple blueprint that turns an ordinary Tuesday into a proof of identity from wake to sleep. The second is the Ekmand Extend ritual, a way to teach what you've learned to one other human so it multiplies. Mastery that is shared is mastery that sticks. Stand where you are and return to your instrument. Feel the chair take your weight, the steady, uncomplaining push of the floor through your heels. Notice the cool at your nostrils as air arrives, the faint warmth as it leaves. Let your jaw unhook a few millimeters, rest your tongue heavy, roll your shoulders back and let them drop like coats off hooks. This is the posture of someone who responds. You are the awareness setting the tone your day will borrow. A Keystone Day has 5 stones placed where the river runs fastest. Opening minute, first deep inch, midday reset, afternoon guardrail, and night landing. You don't need a perfect week. You need one day you can repeat until your nervous system recognizes it as home. Opening minute is breath plus 1 line. First deep inch is the smallest meaningful act. Midday reset is the energy loop. Light, move, fuel, breath. Afternoon guardrail is a pre-written boundary you'll likely need. Night landing is a simple closing ceremony that convinces your body the day is safe to put down. When these 5 stones are in place, the current still moves, but it carries you the direction you chose. Place the stones with me now. Opening minute. The moment your feet find the floor, you 4-4-6 once, feel the sheet leave your skin, whisper, I aim the beam, and glance at a cue card with your 3 words. First deep inch. At your sanctuary spot, you write one sentence of your anchor task, no debate, then one breath and you continue. Midday reset. Sometime between 12:00 and 2:00 you step into light, take a short walk or 10 slow squats, drink water, eat something with fiber or protein and exhale long. Afternoon guardrail, you prepare a visible line for the request you expect will arrive. Yes to the goal, no to this timeline. Here's the smallest version I can do well. Night landing, you run the shutdown ceremony, file 1, schedule 1, clear 1, and write tomorrow's first sentence. 5 stones, one day that feels like a flaw. Check your senses, find a far sound, then the nearest, the whisper of your breath, the faint shift of fabric at your collarbone. Imagine your gaze widening until you could almost see the room behind you. The body records this as safe. Safe is where learning writes to long-term memory. A story to pin the stones to ordinary light. Layla, our product manager, chose a Tuesday as her Keystone day. Opening minute. She sat on the bed's edge, inhaled for 4, held for 4, exhaled for 6, and whispered, steady, honest, courageous. First deep inch. She opened the draft and typed, "Here's the smallest plan that ships quality." Midday reset. She stood under winter sun for 3 minutes, walked a slow rectangle in the courtyard, ate half an apple with peanut butter, breathed out long. Afternoon guardrail, at 3:10 the ping came, "Can you add scope by Friday?" And she pasted her line, "Yes to the outcome, no to Friday for this scope. I can ship the slim version by Friday or full by Wednesday next." Night landing, file, schedule clear, one sentence for tomorrow, not cinematic, solid. After 4 Tuesdays, her chest felt like a room with windows, not a hallway with alarms. She wasn't lucky, she was layered. There will be days when even 5 stones feel heavy. Then you run the rainy day Keystone, the smallest version of each stone. Opening minute becomes one long exhale. First deep inch becomes a title typed in a blank doc. Midday reset becomes a window stare and a glass of water. Afternoon guardrail becomes a single sentence. "I need until tomorrow to do this well." Night landing becomes closing the laptop and touching the doorframe on the way out. You will be tempted to call this failure. It's fidelity. Keeping the shape when the day is wet is how identity becomes waterproof. Breathe once more, feel your ribs expand to the sides, then knit back as you exhale. Let your shoulders drop a fraction. Notice the air against the small hairs on your forearms. These sensations are not garnish. They are the grooves your attention slides into when heat arrives. You are building grooves on purpose. The Expand Extend ritual is how you make this work durable. You teach a little, you listen a lot, you agree on one experiment, and you meet again. Echo is naming what you practiced, in camera language, in under 2 minutes. Extend is inviting one other person, colleague, partner, friend, to try a single tool for 1 week with you. The ritual has 3 parts: show, share, set. Show is a live demo. You run a 4-4-6 breath before speaking, or you use mirror, label, lead once in conversation. Share is a 30-second story of a moment you widened the window and what it felt like in your body. Set is agreeing on one's smallest test and a check-in time. Teaching pulls the knowledge out of your head and into your hands. Accountability is not surveillance, it's scaffolding for change. Picture a small scene. In a fluorescent break room, Tam tapes a sticky to the microwave that reads, 2-minute lab at 12:10, join if curious. At the hour, 2 co-workers come. Tam shows a physiological sigh, shares, "I used this before I replied to an urgent Slack. My jaw dropped and my reply got cleaner," and sets a test. For a week, they'll each use the 2-line de-escalator once and text a single word, used to a group thread. At Friday lunch, they laugh about awkward starts and quiet wins. The room feels different. The next tense meeting feels different. Echoes change climate. Check your body. Rub your palms together once. Feel heat bloom, the pads warming. Let your gaze soften around the edges as if you're looking at a friend. Exhale for 6 and feel the sternum soften on the last 2 counts. You're practicing the tone you'll teach with confident, kind, concrete. There is a companion frame for closing this arc called the Long Horizon Contract. It's one paragraph you write to yourself that names who you're becoming across months, not days. It includes one promise for your body, one for your attention, one for your relationships, and one line for your future self on a hard day. It might read, "For the next season, I will protect sleep like a project, aim my attention with goal, gate, gather, go each morning, and speak boundaries with care. On hard days, I will run reset, repair, refocus, and accept the 0-second pardon. I'm building climate, not chasing weather. You sign and date it. You read it on Sundays. A contract is not a cage. It's a compass you agreed to follow." A domestic scene seals the contract with soup and steam. Jules and Marin sit at the table, fogged windows, spoons clinking gently. They read their 2 long horizon lines to each other. "We'll run T+10 most nights and speak one visible line in tricky talks. On hard weeks, we'll choose rainy day keystones and forgive fast." They laugh at how grown-up it sounds. They keep it simple. When Friday arrives loud, they miss once, then return. Their home feels like a harbor, not a scoreboard. There is a final micro-drill for the last page, the 60-second rehearsal. Before you step into a predictable spike, a meeting, a call, a kitchen conversation, you stand, widen your gaze, breathe 4-4-6 once, and speak your first sentence and your boundary line out loud. Then you touch thumb to finger and walk in. 60 seconds. Your body recognizes the doorway when you reach it for real. The rehearsal is the bridge. You've been building bridges this entire time. Science, brief and practical, to bless the closing. Repetition under low heat builds robust neural paths the prefrontal cortex can still find when adrenaline rises. Naming an identity, "I am the person who," lights up reward pathways. Coupling it with a tiny act seals it. Long exhales recruit parasympathetic tone. Lateral eye movements widen attention. None of these are slogans. They are handles for steering a primate with electricity in its veins and stories in its head toward dignity. Return to your senses for one last sweep. Feel the weight of your hips. Notice the pressure at your lower back meeting the chair. Let the corners of your eyes soften. Listen for the farthest sound, then the nearest. Place a palm on your chest, another on your belly. Inhale, feel the top hand rise a little, then the bottom. Exhale and let both hands fall more slowly than you planned. The air you move is the space you master. Here is a closing story, fluorescent and honest. Matteo, the student who learned to lock his phone and walk the corridor, sits in a quiet library 2 weeks later. Finals press in. A job application blinks at him from an open tab. His jaw starts to set. His breath climbs high. The old belief, "I'm behind," taps on the glass. He smiles at it like an old neighbor. Keystone Day stones in place. One breath, first sentence of the essay, a loop in the courtyard at noon, a boundary to a friend, study till 7, then I'm free, a night landing with one line for tomorrow. At 8:55 p.m. he stands in the dorm bathroom, looks himself in the eye for 10 breaths and says, "I respect that I kept the shape." He turns off the light. Sleep comes like a tide finding shore. He is not finished. He is practicing. Practice is what masters do. You've been building a body memory of choice. Space in a surge. Window widen in a hallway. Clear then call in a hard sentence. The ladder when you can't find the floor. Focus anchors and boundary compass when the world pulls. Reset. Repair. Refocus when you slip. Recode and if. Then when beliefs hiss. North Star and micro-contracts when values need muscle. Mirror, label, lead when rooms run hot. Friction, architecture and light. Move, fuel when voltage drops. Proof stacks and calibration when confidence wobbles. Flight deck and drift detector when months blur. You don't need all of them every day. You need one of them right now. Then another. Then another. That's how a climate is built. Breath by breath, line by line, kindness by kindness. Look up for a moment. Imagine the next hard thing, a tone, a deadline, a face, a silence. Feel your chest narrow a hair, then widen as you choose. You are the awareness behind the weather, not the weather itself. You know where the window is. You know how to widen it. You know how to cross it and take the smallest wise step. Do that, then the next, then the next. When you forget, forgive fast and begin again. Beginning again is the superpower you keep. Close your eyes if you can. Whisper your 3 words. Whisper your pocket intention. I keep the space and choose one wise action. Feel how it lands. That feeling is yours. You made it. Now carry it.